Conference championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Felix Rosenquist, he wins the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Well, the rooster crowing is about the only thing we're missing here on this Tuesday morning. And I guess the sun, James Boyd, although it is sticky, it is muggy. It certainly feels like a training camp day. And today is report day from Westfield, Indiana. Grand Park is where we will call home each of the next 6 shows. So, again, players, veterans will report to camp up here if they haven't already. Many of them did yesterday. But if they haven't already, it is report day for the Colts. We will hear from a couple of Colts players. We'll share those names throughout the show with you. And Chris Ballard will meet the media coming up at 11 a.m. here at Grand Park. Thank you to Cam, on-site engineer, Christian Oates back in studio. We know this is not an easy task getting this dialed up and ready to go. YouTube stream looks good. James Boyd, welcome to camp.
I know. Does it feel like we've arrived at camp, or do you still have to see some players out there on the grass?
Yeah, tomorrow is probably like the official, start. This is what, you kind of go to school. Do kids do the half day to start the school year nowadays, and then maybe the full day tomorrow?
Meet the teacher.
But I'll tell you what, when Grand Park staffer Ken showed up bright and early, and not only did he bring us cold waters, but he also brought –
oh, boy.
He brought me my firstborn. He brought me my blue powered camera. We up? Is this camera working?
Oh, Lord. Well, for those driving, you can hear what that is.
Nice kiss on the 20-ounce. Just the condensation around the ball. How good does that look? Does that look like heaven?
It does.
Oh, man, that is beautiful. So, yeah, in my eyes, I guess camp has officially started.
I was going to say, you might need it. It's a little humid out here, so it definitely feels like camp weather.
It does. A couple of news items we got to get to that we saw yesterday for the Colts. We'll explain exactly what all of that does mean. And, again, we'll hear from Chris Ballard a little bit later today. And get you set. Typically on report day, about a handful of Colts will meet the media here, and then a couple will slide over to our table here on the northwest part of the practice fields at Grand Park. You and I walked in together, James. Looks like the same old setup, right? Nothing too crazy, right? Colt City looks good to go, ready for tomorrow. 10 a.m. the start time. Fields look pristine. There's no grass clippings I need to pick up. maybe a leaf or two from the storms we got from last night, but gosh, that grass looks incredible.
It does. And, again, I think when you start smelling the grass is when you start getting some people out here you haven't seen in a while. So looking forward to reconvening with the rest of the beat, and I think we'll see Coach Venturi out here too pretty soon, because once the footballs get flying around, he tends to come out of hibernation. So just excited for a fun week out here at Grand Park, and as we've talked about pretty much for the last few months or so, this is the last training camp in Grand Park for the time being. So if you can make it out here, please do so. I would encourage you all, if you got young kids, it is fun. I'll beat them in the 40-yard dash, and they'll go home with a lesson.
40-yard dash looking good. Right?
I know. I'm
you
ready.
Do swept turf field over there calling your name. Again, we'll hear from Colts players a little bit later today. Other local items before we get into the Colts news of yesterday. The Indiana Fever will be back on the floor tonight. It is a late tip. I believe ESPN National, if you'd like to dabble in that. But you've got Pat Boylan and company on the WTHR sister station from a local standpoint. But I thought the 9:30 tip time was a little odd, but that's out in Seattle for the Fever, so they are a overwhelming favorite. They were, of course, about a week and a half ago over the same team, and it turned out to be a really competitive game. Caitlin Clark was incredible, 45-10 against the Seattle Storm last time out, but they are a big old favorite. That injury report looks pretty clean, right, for the Fever tonight?
Yes. We still have Caitlin Clark on there. She's been on there all year, though. She's probable to play. They also saw that Bree Hall, she's also probable to play with, I think, an ankle injury. And then Demiris Dantas, she was kind of a late scratch last week due to a knee injury. Now she's not with the team, so we'll see what's next for the backup big. But as far as the Stars go, looking pretty good on paper. And now you're getting ready for, I would argue, Kevin, a really tough stretch to end the regular season. You got 17 games left, and only 6 of them are at home.
All right. You got off at 191st Street, making the drive over. Is that what you said this morning?
Got off at 191st and came on over. I haven't been in a couple of roundabouts in a while, so had knocked the rust off.
Okay, rank them for me. Zaxby's, Wendy's, Arby's.
Ooh, Arby's is definitely last. Wendy's is probably number 1. Zaxby's number 2.
Gosh, I wish I could disagree with you. Zaxby's makes me a little nervous, too, when they're saying we're hiring. Out front.
Why do you say that? I mean, I think that's a fair thing because, look, you got to think, okay, just hear me out.
I know Wendy's going to be Usain Bolt quick. I can't have Kevin Bowen quick in the Zaxby's drive-thru line.
That's true, but Zaxby's might be having a couple kids going back to school. Summer jobs are ending.
I got to be selfish here. Time's ticking. Ballard's talking at 11. Our show gets over at 10. Can I make the run over there?
Now, I have thought about that.
Can I get some grub, and can I get back here in time?
I don't know, Kevin. I think I might just be toughing it out until after Ballard gets done speaking, and then I'll figure out what's next for lunch.
Christian Oates, good morning, sir. Could you care to chime in? Zaxby's, Wendy's, Arby's?
Well, I think James kind of shut down Arby's a little bit too fast. I know on the internet, it's the thing.
Christian, if you eat Arby's, you don't love yourself.
Well, you're gonna
come on.
I got Long John Silver a couple weeks ago. Whew. Oh my gosh!
Boy.
That's besides the point. I think Zaxby's is number 1 for me. We'll keep it rolling. I got bubble guts from that Long John Silver, but it was
say,
good
pray
going
for the
in.
plumbing, man.
He said it looked good coming in.
Man. Christian, that is a bold move, man.
I'll say, what am I talking to my grandma? Long John Silver's. He's eating hush puppies, and then he's wondering why he's having problems.
I was the only one at the drive-through too, which was suspicious, and it still took a long time. They had to make it fresh. That's how you know.
They ain't making it fresh. It's been sitting there. They like, we're gonna just give him what we had back here.
They're like, are you sure you're here? Are you like, did you know this is where you wanted to
Sure you don't
pull
want the
up
McDonald's
to?
across the street?
But hey, let's not hate on the curly fries to defend Christian there in Little Arby's. Okay, Colts news items from yesterday. The physically unable to perform list, C.J. Allen and Alec Pierce. Let's start here, James. What does putting a player on the physically unable to perform list mean?
It basically means that you do not start practice when everyone else does. And so it's not a super big deal unless it lingers into the regular season. We won't get into that right now. But for those listening, as simple as I can put it, it means you're not ready to go and practice and be a part of the team. You can be brought off of that list, Kevin, at any point throughout training camp. So, for example, C.J. Allen could be on there for 2 days or 2 weeks. We'll see how things go. But from what we were told, Kevin, it sounds like it's a minor-ish injury, something that probably will not linger throughout camp. But still, a little bit of a surprise that he was on there. I think Alec Pierce we probably expected.
Yeah, we got into that, I think, a lot yesterday. The updates on Pierce, I don't think were too promising in terms of him being ready when they get out here coming up tomorrow. So further clarity from Chris Ballard likely to come later today. And we'll see if anybody else pops up on that list. You know, you and I were chatting on the way in about DeForest Buckner a little bit here. I feel like there's been prior years where maybe a guy hasn't been on PUP initially and then was. You know, for example, yesterday, rookies and quarterbacks reported to camp. If you were a veteran player and you'd like to get ahead of it, you could have reported yesterday.
Yeah.
It's not like you are mandated to the Tuesday. So like C.J. Allen, for example, again, he reported yesterday. The technicality in the PUP is you fail your physical. I know that sounds like a bigger deal than it really is. But that's where, you know, a player like DeForest Buckner, did he not report yesterday? Maybe he reports today and now he shows up on the list. Or do we have good news? Because I just assumed Buckner would be on PUP or will not be practicing on Wednesday.
Exactly. And so I'm hoping that we get to hear from him either today or tomorrow, or we'll hear from Ballard later today. He'll definitely be able to update us on DeForest Buckner, but of course we would like to hear from the players themselves. So that's something definitely to monitor going forward. And we've talked ad nauseum about how big of a piece DeForest Buckner is for this team. And Kevin, I was actually looking yesterday as I was researching some stuff, trying to refresh my memory on his career and kind of how things have gone the last couple of years. So through his first 8 years in the NFL, he missed one game as a rookie due to injury. One game in 8 years. Over the last 2 years, he's missed 12 due to injury. Last year, he played a career low, 10 games. So going into his 11th season this year, where does that durability kind of line up? And again, can he get back to the level of, I'm not expecting him to be first-team All-Pro DeForest Buckner from 2020 when he first got here, but can you still be, you know, a top 10 defensive tackle in this league.
Yeah, and I think today, maybe a little bit later in the 7 o'clock hour, I obviously want to get more into the C.J. Allen, Alec Pierce situations, but, in regards to Buckner, if he is going to miss time, and I'm talking regular season time, or if you are going to lessen what's on his plate come the regular season, the Colts do have a new player they got in the Zaire Franklin trade that I think could be a huge part to this team, really dependent on Buckner's health. Obviously, a healthy Buckner's going to play. But again, if you have to lessen that workload at all, Colby Wooden is a name that we probably haven't talked a lot about this offseason, but he could be a very critical piece to what that defensive line makeup looks like here in the interior. So, again, a reminder on report day, we will hear from hopefully a couple of Colts players at some point on this Tuesday morning. Chris Ballard will meet the media at 11 o'clock today, and then tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, all of those are 10 a.m. start times, right?
Yes.
So morning practices, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I want to say the Saturday practice is like 4 o'clock maybe. It's a little bit later in the day there. They're off on Sunday, morning practice coming up Monday and Tuesday, live here at Grand Park in Westfield. You didn't even think about going to Snuggie this morning, did you?
No, but I am.
Is
well
it in
equipped.
the car?
Everything's in the car. I'm always prepared for any kind of weather. Okay.
Gosh, that's wild. You imagine Cam all of a sudden James is dragging the Snuggie down like he's Rosie Bowen dragging her blanket downstairs.
Cam, we're not gonna let this man hate on me this morning. Okay.
Do you have an umbrella in the car?
No, I don't believe in umbrellas. Unless it's a hot take, but, well, I shouldn't say I don't believe in them. I don't believe in them for my life. I don't feel like I'm walking outside a ton when it's raining a ton. So usually if it's raining, I'll just run inside wherever I need to be, and I'll be a little wet, but I'll be fine.
Didn't we have a pretty rainy joint practice like last year, maybe 2 years ago? What'd you do then?
Yeah, that was a monsoon. An umbrella wasn't going to help you then. I think everyone got soaked that day.
Were you just watching practice from under this tent?
Pretty much. And I only thing I learned from that day, seriously, was to always have an extra shirt in the car, because once we got inside with the AC and a wet shirt, boy, I was shivering. I was cold. Could have used a Snuggie then. But I was debating if I could drive home shirtless, but I was like, I don't know. Carmel, they might pull me over for doing something like that.
Yeah.
So I kept the wet shirt on until I got home.
You said it, not me, but I was thinking that. Westfield, Indiana, that is where we are at today. Grand Park. It is the final year here for Colts training camp report day, followed by morning practices each of the next 3 days. Much more on the Alec Pierce and C.J. Allen news from yesterday. What are we curious about with Chris Ballard later this morning? Also, listeners sent me a really interesting Shane Steichen related question. We talked a lot about Shane yesterday on the show, and this is kind of maybe a different angle on the Shane Steichen evaluation here as he heads into year 4, looking for his first playoff appearance. So we'll get to that here on this Tuesday morning as well. Again, thank you to on-site engineer Cam, Christian back in studio. I'm Kevin Bowen, James Boyd live here. It is the Fan Morning Show, Westfield, Indiana, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Andy Moore Group Campus in Avon. 4 brands on one site. The 4 brands, Toyota, Nissan, Volkswagen. How about the Kia brand? Shout out to GM Joe there. He's a funny dude. He's out there. I think they're actually the last dealership, if I can picture their campus in my head, if you're driving out there from Indianapolis. They got their summer sticker sales event. That is live, so you can win $750 off via that summer sticker sales event. Tons of inventory, great convenience right there on site. The hybrid route, definitely something they have. Industry-leading warranty, something Kia really prides itself in. And again, Telluride, very popular. The K4, it's a little smaller, but you get some nice gas mileage on that. So again, that is the Kia brand out there, and also Toyota, Nissan, Volkswagen. 4 different brands, one site. Andy Moore Group Campus in Avon. Tell them Kevin Bowen sent you.
Checkdown. Brought to you by Bet365 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, we are live here, Westfield, Indiana. Grand Park is report day for the Colts and their training camp. A couple players should join us here later in the show. Chris Ballard speaking to us at 11. Anything top of mind for year 10 for the Colts GM, James?
Well, I definitely want to get into the whole, do you think it's make or break? Do you think it's do or die as far as the playoffs? You are going into the final year of your contract without an extension for the first time in your career, so it might feel a little bit different. But then beyond that, I think I always kind of look for the injury updates as well. KB, like, where is Alec Pierce at? We know he's on the PUP list, but does that mean he's physically unable to perform, for those listening, for 2 days or 2 weeks? So things like that.
Again, Alec Pierce, C.J. Allen, both on that list. Let's get more into that here coming up on the other side. We noted yesterday on the show that all signs pointed to Daniel Jones being full go come Wednesday. Again, tomorrow is the first practice day. Daniel confirmed that yesterday on the Pat McAfee show. So if you're looking for a good injury update, all systems go for number 17 coming up tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I think we would have been surprised, Kevin, if that weren't the case. Now, I think you alluded to it a little bit yesterday. I'm curious to see if there's any sort of limitations within that full go. And to be clear with that, I mean, throughout the spring, he was explicitly told, you do not scramble. If you get outside the pocket, plays dead, throw the ball on the ground, and it is what it is. I would fear that Shane Steichen would probably go out there and just slap the ball out of his hand if he could. But does he get more leeway with that as he works his way back?
Yeah, and like, does he do, 4 straight practices starting tomorrow?
Yeah.
Is he doing all 4 of those? Those would be just a couple of, I guess, technicalities that I would have with Jones. So we'll try to get some clarity coming up later this morning on that. If you are looking to stay up late tonight and watch the Indiana Fever, you might have to touch midnight. 9:30 tip time out in Seattle. They are a 9.5-point favorite. Again, the Storm are the worst team in the league. But yet, James, when these two teams played inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse about a week and a half ago, that was a hell of a game. And the Fever really needed Caitlin Clark's heroics to survive that one.
Exactly. I do think Seattle has a very talented young core. Those of you who are watching the All-Star game, Dominique Malunga is their best upcoming player, and she had a dunk in that game. And so the athleticism they have on the interior makes them still a scary-ish team to face. And Caitlin Clark had quite the game against them last time. I wouldn't be surprised if she has another big game. And I would say overall, Kevin, she looks healthy, bouncy, fluid, and probably at the best she's looked all year.
Again, Aaliyah Boston not on the injury report. I note that because she only played 5 minutes in the All-Star game. It was easily the fewest of any All-Star, so good news on that front. It's the only game for the Fever until they take on Portland coming up on Friday. And again, they've got the best team in the league in Minnesota. First time they've seen the Lynx this year. That will be on Sunday as they start their second half of the season here with a 3-game road trip. Major League Baseball, some Mother Nature impacting things. Obviously, we got hit pretty hard here locally yesterday. Reds postponed hosting the Guardians. I saw the Cubs were delayed, and then once it got ready to go, 9-3 over the Cardinals. White Sox lose to the Yankees. Will Joel Erickson be crying today that his Brewers lost 3-0?
I don't think he'll be crying, but he'll definitely give us an update on where things stand. You know, he's all about his Brewers.
Oh, my gosh, an update. He'll give us an update on their AAA team.
I know. He's the only person I know that can multitask when we're talking to different players or coaches, and he still has the game up on his phone. And no one can tell from the podium side, and I can't even tell from the media side of it because he never breaks stride.
He is one of a kind. Indianapolis Indians down in Louisville this week, and then they will host it against Iowa coming up next week. Big Ten Media Days, if you care about that. I guess it means a little closer to college football. Now, the Big Ten is such a big conference nowadays. They divide them up into 3 different days. So today, tomorrow, and Thursday. I want to say Purdue is tomorrow and Indiana's the last day. I think so. It's Barry Odom and Kurt Signetti beating the media up there in Chicago. We will hear from Tony Petitti today. That is the Big Ten commissioner. And nowadays in college athletics, anytime the commissioners, particularly Greg Sankey of the SEC or Tony Petitti from the Big Ten, when they talk, typically that's some news. So we'll see if there's anything on that front. Speaking of Indiana, they wrapped up their 4-2 on the hardwood last night in Peru. They beat the Virgin Islands by 40-something. So they smoked, all these teams. Competition, of course, is the great debate in that, but nonetheless, great balance to Darren DeVries' bunch there in his second season. And Aiden Sherrill, the transfer from Alabama, that is a skilled big dude. I watched a little bit of Bama in the tournament there. I think he's going to be, I don't want to necessarily throw him in a Trace Jackson Davis category, but he's got some legit talent to him. He was the MVP of that tournament. And lastly, just again to get you set here at Grand Park, it is report day. About an hour from now, some players are scheduled to meet the media in the tent adjacent to us here, just off the practice fields. And Chris Ballard will talk to the media coming up at 11. So you get the arrivals all throughout today. And again, morning practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday afternoon practice that will greet you here. The first 4 days, 4 of 13 practices the Colts have here in Westfield. Just to reiterate the schedule, it's a lot of morning practices here the first week or so into camp, and then things really shift into many more afternoon, weekend. They have a night practice a week from Thursday, like a legit night practice. They'll bring lights onto this field here.
I think it starts at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, like an 8 to 10, I think, on the schedule there. So, again, that is a legit night practice they will have up here. And they'll round things out August 19th and 20th. The Atlanta Falcons will call Westfield home for a couple days. They'll do some joint practices with Atlanta. All right, upcoming on the other side, before we get to a weather update, what is the latest with Alec Pierce and CJ Allen? How would we view those two situations? We'll hit that. And again, I got an interesting listener question yesterday via, or I guess more on the, evaluation would be the word I would use on Shane Steichen here through 3 years. We've talked a lot about the evaluation of Chris Ballard through 9 years. And I thought this was just a little bit of a different side of it. So I want to throw that James's way. We'll do that upcoming here in the 7:30 segment. Good Tuesday morning to you. It's sticky. It's overcast. What else we got, Christian, on a weather update?
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Christian Oates slowing it down a little bit here on this Tuesday morning. Mark Dykton will be back tomorrow. Westfield, Indiana. That's where James Boyd and myself, Kevin Bowen, are at. Thank you to on-site engineer Cam for getting us going here. Grand Park, you can hear a little mowing action, I believe, in the background. Is that a robotic mower? I should probably put the glasses on.
It's either that or the robotic line painter
Okay.
that we see from time to time.
Yeah.
Technology, KB.
I know, man. AI, it's everywhere. It's everywhere right now. Fields look pristine, though. We'll get those started tomorrow, report day for the Colts in training camp. We did talk about this yesterday. Part of the early training camp news always seems to be, and again, you have a 90-man roster. The guys have been away from the team for a month and a half. So that's a long time. 6 weeks of, rather, I would say, intensive training because you're ramping it up, not ramping it down.
Yeah.
When you first take your break in the offseason, you're ramping it down, obviously, from the 17-game grind you just went on. But, James, I think inevitably there's always a player that just pops up on that PUP list that maybe we did not think about. Alec Pierce, I think, was pretty much known he was going to be on it, and he is on it. But C.J. Allen, if I rank the 90 dudes that I think it's really important they practice a lot here in training camp, I don't think I get very far on that list before I put C.J. Allen's name. He'd be in the top 10. He might be in the top 5.
Yeah, you've hammered that point home, Kevin, because I've sort of leaned on the side of he will be an upgrade from Zaire Franklin, but at the same time, Zaire is somebody who had been in your defense for a number of years, has started over 1,000 snaps for you over the last handful of years, and to come into camp and not be able to get those reps wide away for C.J. Allen, I don't want to act like it's nothing. It's definitely something, and now it's just a matter of, okay, how long is he going to be out, and then when he comes back, how long will it take until he's ramped up? But for those listening, I don't think we ever really clarified what the injury is. From what I was told and what we were told, Kevin, it is a calf injury. I know. Everyone, hold on to your driving wheels and
I'm
things
glad
like
that you said that C word. I'm not saying that 4-letter C word today.
But, yes, it was a calf injury. It seems like it was a minor injury from what we were told, something that shouldn't linger too long. But at the same time, we have to wait and see, and the ultimate confirmation of not waiting too long is when we see him back out there on the field. Yeah,
again, Lou Anarumo has touched on this before. This will be Lou's, I believe it's his 7th year as a defensive coordinator in this league. And he has never had a rookie be his signal caller. His green dot guy is the reference we've used quite a lot here. The thought is C.J. Allen is going to be that. So, again, I think any missed time is notable for him. For what it's worth, he never really suffered injuries at Georgia. He was pretty healthy in his collegiate career, seemed to be healthy in the spring as well. I am curious, is his backup also a rookie? Like, is Bryce Betcher, the 4th-round pick out of Oregon, is he now going to be the signal caller coming up tomorrow out there? They don't really have a lot of veteran experience.
Yeah, I have thought about that. Even with Akeem Davis-Gaither, is he somebody that could slide over to that middle linebacker spot? It seems like he would be more weak side. But, again, these are the questions that get raised when the availability isn't there from the start. So we'll get some answers to those questions tomorrow out here on the field. And, Kevin, not to get off on a tangent, but I feel like I'm watching the Tooth Fairy do their business, or I'm seeing Santa put the presents under the tree or something. Like, am I supposed to be seeing this? The lines getting painted? This is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is artwork, to say the least there. Yeah, that's quite the machine.
Like, part of me is like, you just wake up and there's just lines on the field? They have to actually put them down? This is some artistry.
Yeah, it is. Beautiful artwork going on right here at Grand Park. Again, 2 practice fields here in Westfield. The Colts utilize. They usually rotate every other day which one that they are on for the team-specific periods. But with the 90-man roster, they, of course, like to spread out the space there. So listen to Matt Taylor. When you come out here, Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, will be on the mic. He will alert you of what practice field will get the majority, again, of the team drills. But, yes, currently they are lining the field, and, oh boy, if that was me right now, those things would be a hair wobbly.
I would definitely be a little nervous to do it, but these are professionals, Kevin.
Staying
They've done
between the
all
lines,
this.
not a specialty of yours truly.
Nah.
No.
What about Rosie Bowen? Is she getting there? Motor skills?
She is. I mean, she's already stays in between the lines better than I do, which, again, I don't know if that's a ringing endorsement for her, but hopefully she has her mom's creativity and her artwork than she does her father. One other note, because Kirk just sent this in. Kirk goes, well, with Allen and Pierce on PUP, does that mean DeForest Buckner is not on PUP? You got any inkling on that, or is that still a news item that you're curious about?
I have reached out about this. I know I tweeted about it and said I would maybe assume that he isn't on there, but after talking to you more about it and others on the beat, it could come down to just when he reports to training camp and then when he does his physical, which ultimately, if you're not ready to go, you will go on the physically unable to perform list. So could that be today? Usually veterans don't have to report the same day as rookies. But then the counter argument is that, well, Alec Pierce is on there and he's not a rookie. So long story short, we will get clarity on that today, either from DeForest Buckner himself, if he speaks to the media, or from Chris Ballard, who is talking to us at 11.
Yeah, and one more note on C.J. Allen. You know, I was pretty adamant when the schedule came out in May. I think the best case scenario for the Colts schedule for 2026 would have been more of a backloaded schedule. You know, with Daniel Jones trying to come back from a torn Achilles in less than a year, to me, if I saw opponents Baltimore, Kansas City, Houston right out of the gate, I think you'd rather see those teams in December. I think the same case could be made defensively. You're incorporating 5 new starters. You're incorporating several rookies in those 5 new starters, C.J. Allen being one of them, and you don't really ease into the season quarterback-wise. I get Patrick Mahomes is coming back from a torn ACL, but he still is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson and Mahomes, week 1 and week 2, I mean, that's quite the start there. So that is something that I think is noted, too, of like, you know, again, I don't want to make too much out of the C.J. Allen situation, but still, him missing any time, I think, is notable given how you start the season on top of all of it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Look who we have here walking through nice and early. Not Mike Chappell. Got Bob Kravitz in the house. Shout out to the legend.
Bob Kravitz an hour early.
I know. It starts at 8:30. And now he's upset because he's too early.
Bob was on Central Time. He thought with that.
I'm not going to lie. When he walked over this early, I was a little surprised.
Going from Fishers to Westfield, Eastern Time in Fishers, Central Time over here in Westfield. Yeah, I looked over my shoulder. I was like, I didn't expect to see Bob Kravitz here.
I know. I'm usually a little like Bob, or 15 minutes is about all you're going to get. But to answer your question about CJ, yes, I do think it's something to keep in mind moving forward. And honestly, Kevin, you want to hope that with him, it's more of a, like they told us, a short-term thing than a long-term thing to make sure that he's out there getting those reps that are so essential to this defense.
So, again, we'll await kind of if are there any additional roster moves for the Colts today. We should note as well, again, we're about, a little over 24 hours from the first practice of camp. We haven't seen the Colts do anything on the free agent market yet. You will see some teams that will occasionally make a roster move just before the start of camp and bring a player in that they've thought about here over the course of the summer. For what it's worth, Kenny Moore II is still a free agent. Again, that's more of a league-wide thing, but sometimes veterans will say, you know what, yes, as much as I'd like to start a camp with the team and get that ramp-up period, I might wait for the injury, as cold as that sounds, because there might be a little bit more of a desperate situation around the league. I did want to get to this question I got here from listener Luke. He sent this in, and we've done this exercise a lot through the offseason. Again, we're going to hear from Chris Ballard later today. It's his annual start of training camp presser. And then, James, typically after today, we don't hear from Ballard again till the end of the season?
Yes, typically after he's kept his job.
Right. So, I guess you just can't ignore the elephant in the room. Today could be one of the final times, maybe the final time we ever hear from Chris Ballard. That's the reality, I think, of his situation here entering year 10. But Luke asks this, and I guess let me start here before I get into Luke's question. If I asked you to grade Chris Ballard, just him, and then I asked you to grade Shane Steichen, just him, your letter grade for Steichen compared to Ballard would be what? And again, I'm not holding you to this, just a rough grade you would throw out. 9 years of Ballard, 3 years of Steichen.
So their entire tenures, okay.
Right, but again, individually. Just as the GM,
yes,
just as the head coach.
I got you. I would probably give Ballard a D because you just haven't had the success. What is it? 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win, 0 AFC South titles through his first 9 years. That won't cut it, and most GMs would just not have a job at this point with that sort of resume. With Shane, I'd probably give him a C. You need to have more success against your division rivals, against the upper echelon of your division. You haven't beat Houston in 2 years, haven't beat him since 2023, actually. And lo and behold, that was an Anthony Richardson start there in his rookie season. So to me, that is a mark against you. But also, I can't put you down too far as like not giving you a passing grade, so to speak, because you had to kind of make it work with a different quarterback every few weeks throughout your tenure because you haven't had one quarterback for an entire season.
Yeah, you kind of get into some of Luke's question right there with, how you explained a little bit more. But Luke said this. He goes, shouldn't Steichen's letter grade actually be worse than Ballard's?
Okay, I'm listening.
Any reason for not failing Ballard is due to accomplishments he experienced with Frank Reich, not Shane Steichen. Even the debacle in 2022, which led to Frank's firing, matches the win total of Shane's best year, which, no, that doesn't. They only won 4 then. But, again, sifting through that, he goes, can you provide an objective achievement or non-abstract reason for not giving an F to the first head coach in franchise history to get at least 3 seasons and not make the playoffs once? So I think what Luke is saying here is Chris Ballard has 2 playoff appearances on his resume. He has a playoff win. Now, granted, he has more time to do that, whereas Shane has 0. So do you look at it and think, that's a decent point that Luke is making here? Or do you sit there and say, well, context matters. You just brought up some of the context. Maybe I would argue sample size matters. I think the deeper you get into an NFL sample size, like 9 years in NFL years is like 3 lifetimes.
Yes.
Whereas 3 years is still, it's a third of it, obviously from a math standpoint. So I guess when
the son of, teachers here, Cam, well, great math here on this Tuesday morning.
The only reason why is because I've been drinking this blue Powerade courtesy of Ken.
It's good thing Mark ain't here. You would have confused him.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, certainly I would have. And Mark's still trying to figure out how many ways you can make $1 out of change via the Arnie's kids menu there. But when you hear that, like, Shane has no substance on the resume. Ballard at least has something. Does that make you pause at all?
A little bit, but my counter argument would be that Ballard did choose Steichen as his coach. So I have to hold that against the general manager who hired the coach who you said would be your coach of the future, someone who could change the direction of your franchise. And I don't want to sit here and act like who Shane Steichen is perceived to be now is the same way we perceived him when he first got here. Because when he got here, remember, he was supposed to be the quarterback whisperer, the guy who brought the best out of certain players. And I think he's done that with Daniel Jones, but he was supposed to be with Anthony Richardson. Part of the reason they were sold on Anthony Richardson was because Shane and then pounded the table and said, I can make it work with this guy. Now, I'm not going to sit here and defend Anthony and say it was just going to work out no matter who the coach was and put it all on the coach. No, he has to wear a lot of the blame, and I would argue most of the blame, and it's why Daniel Jones is now the starter and Anthony's kind of like this afterthought. But I can't excuse the general manager who hired the head coach. And again, I would argue that it's very hard for any coach to have sustained success when your quarterback just doesn't stay healthy for a full season. I mean, he being Shane Steichen, they were a drive away from making the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. So, yeah, I get that it's close, no cigar, and who wants to count close losses, but I think context matters.
Well, and I would also add this, too. Like, when we're assigning these letter grades, like, I understand it's a bottom-line business, and I think Luke is getting at you either make the playoffs or you failed. To me, there are levels to the letter grades. Like, not everyone can be the Cleveland Browns. Like, someone has to be an F.
Yeah.
Colts have not had a good tenure under Chris Ballard. I think that's fair to say. But it hasn't been an outright, F letter grade to it. If you really want to parse out Steichen's record here, isn't it exactly 500? Or one game below or one game above? Mm-hmm. So, again, 8 and 9 win seasons or whatever it exactly is through 3 seasons. I just don't know if I'm sitting there saying, boom, that is an F. I think that's maybe a little bit short-sighted and a little bit too, you have to do this in order to be at this sort of letter grade. Now, again, a lot of this gets into, how Carly Ursay-Gordon defines higher sense of urgency. And what exactly does that mean? Does the playoff appearance simply cure all? Because in her eyes, it was, not making the playoffs last year was still good enough to have the retention that she did coming into this season here. So, that's a question. And do we hear from Carly Ursay-Gordon here at Grand Park? Her dad usually did speak here. We did not hear from her last year here. Do we hear from her this year outside of the TV appearance she usually makes, or I should say their family has made over the years, including her? She made it last year on the preseason broadcast.
Well, we will never say no to more access, more information from those who are in power and making decisions. So I would love to hear from Carly Ursay-Gordon, maybe not as chaotically as her father every time he spoke to us. Beyond just the news itself, Kevin, I always felt like it was such a grand moment. He's on the golf cart, and then he would be in the middle of the 2 fields. So I don't know if you were like this, Kevin, but I would always
during practice. There'd be 11 on 11 plays. I'm like, oh boy, I hope the football doesn't all of a sudden hit the owner.
Exactly. And so part of me would always be looking out the corner of my eye, like, okay, if I see Michael Pittman Jr., last year or the year before, running down the sideline, I might be on another side of Jim Irsay because I don't want to get ran over while I'm trying to ask you about the state of your team. So these are things you got to think about logistically.
I see some people are asking here on the text line about Vita Vea. Did you see this news yesterday?
I did see this. I thought it was odd that he would request a trade this late in the game, but apparently they can't come to terms on a deal.
So big old hog molly for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah. The Colts had heavy interest in him when he came out of Washington in the draft. I want to say that was the Quentin Nelson draft. I would have to double check my years on that. He's had a very nice, solid, good career, a couple Pro Bowls in Tampa, and several people have asked if we think the Colts would have interest in trading for Vita Vea. They've brought up the DeForest Buckner injury situation in relation to that.
I just think that the Sauce Gardner trade probably strapped you when it came to giving up more assets, Kevin, and I probably wouldn't go that route myself. How do you feel about it, though?
Yeah, I am there. I also think he's a little bit more like in the Grover Stewart mold than the DeForest Buckner mold.
Yeah.
You already have some older defensive tackles to begin with. I think you have questions about potentially extending some of those guys. And Vita Vea kind of falls into the same age group. I think he's 31 years old. So now Ballard loves defensive tackles as much as I love Blue Powerade. So I don't want to just overlook it per se,
right.
Still, I don't know. I think the Sauce point that you bring up is a good one.
It is what it is at this point. I do think they're in a win-now situation, but just doubling down with making more trades and all of that, I don't know if that would be smart for the short or long term with this group. And again, they know more about DeForest Buckner than we do, and we kind of have to wait and see what he looks like, assuming that he does in fact play this season and starts the season healthy.
We should have a couple Colts players joining us here a little bit later in the show. It is report day from Grand Park. So we are live in Westfield, Indiana. Grand Park, our location. Again, Chris Ballard going to meet the media coming up at 11 o'clock today. And the first practice of training camp will be 10 a.m. coming up tomorrow. Very simple question we got on the text line. What should Colts fans be excited about this year? I would say offensively the presence of Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren. You might have the two. Saying that about Warren's probably a little early.
Hold on. Brock Bowers exists.
Well, Trey McBride might be some, might also. I saw the Madden rankings coming out yesterday and had, I believe, Trey McBride is one of their 99s. You have 2 All-Pro skill players.
Yeah,
I think that I think Warren has that ability here. We've got Matt Taylor in the building, voice of the Colts on the YouTube stream. He is ready to go.
Just a grade A human being.
He's ready to go. He's fired up on this.
I know.
Tuesday morning here.
I'll be hearing from. I'll be seeing him for the Colts 5K.
Little 5K action?
Yeah, I got to run it again this year. I'll make it a yearly tradition with my boy Caleb Zuver.
Angela Morian walking in with her Wish TV crew here.
Yeah.
How about that? Nobody was beating Bob Kravitz this morning, though. Did Bob really think that
he said he thought they started at 8:10?
Yeah, I mean, even 8:10, he was here at 7:30.
Hey, the man is early. What's up, y'all?
Gosh, he's going to be standing there and staring at the mic for 40 minutes. Man, he better be rocking some hokas there. What else? What else would you put in the why should I be excited category?
Well, I will say I would be excited for, and again, a lot of it has to do with health, but if Javarius Ward and Sauce Gardner can stay healthy, I would be excited for that tandem because I do think they can be one of the better cornerback duos in the NFL. Beyond that, I'm excited to see, assuming that, again, health is a factor, what a healthy Daniel Jones can look like when he's paired with a healthy JT, a healthy Alec Pierce. A lot of it just comes down to health for me, Kevin. But I'm excited to see what Alec Pierce can do, assuming he gets over the ankle injury, he can get back on the field, get healthy. He's somebody that I think can really show more of his game. And I get that he's been a deep threat, one of the best deep threats in the last several years, but that's where my excitement kind of lies with this group.
Yeah, I'll go to corner. I mean, I think if you can have, and again, you just said the health thing, but Sauce Gardner and Javarius Ward on paper should be the best outside cornerback duo in the entire league. And I think when Mooney Ward played last year, I didn't see a dip in his game that, sometimes you get with a little bit of the older corners. So to me, it's more of just availability. If him and Sauce Gardner are out there, then I think that is a duo that should be as good, if not the best cornerback duo of any in the league. And I think that is, A, exciting, B, I'd argue vital, because I have major questions about what you have in the defensive front. And so, you hear the phrase quite often, rushing cover, all this stuff. I think the thought is you would rather be the rushing group. That would be if you could look at 2 of those, rush, cover, which one would you rather be better at? You'd rather be better as a rush group than a cover group. But, it's not the worst thing in the world, obviously, to be pretty good on the coverage aspect of it. And then can that aid a pass rush that I think you have some question marks? So I would say Taylor. I would say Warren. I would point to your cornerback duo. And I still think this offensive line has the ability to be an upper echelon group. Obviously, you need Jalen Travis at right tackle to take those reins and have kind of a seamless transition there from Braden Smith. But I think your other 4 spots you should feel really, really good about, particularly the left side of your line with Quentin Nelson and Bernard Ryman.
For sure. I mean, I don't want to act like Bernard Ryman is somebody who is easily replaceable. I think that he's actually been one of their better draft hits in recent years. And it was this time last year, Kevin, that he went on Jake's show and basically said, hey, I need to get paid. And then maybe about 48 hours later.
Did Jake get a cut for that?
I was going to say Jake sent in a little slip saying I need my, 1.5% or something like that. Maybe a little higher than that because he's Jake and he loves him some Jake. But you give $100 million to your left tackle. You give Quentin Nelson, I think his last deal was $80 million. He'll probably get another big contract here soon, whether it's from the Colts or someone else. But, yeah, I feel good about that side of the line. I'm curious about the right side. I do think they're younger. They're a little more inexperienced. I know that on paper they look really good, but I don't want to sit up here, and I think I said it yesterday, Kevin, and act like Jalen Travis replacing Braden Smith is the easiest thing in the world. I get that Braden had some health issues and other challenges in recent years that caused him to miss games, but for nearly a decade he was very reliable on the right side and someone who was, I would argue, in the top half of that right tackle group in the NFL.
Again, live here at Grand Park. I'm sure you can hear the ambiance behind us as they are getting set up for tomorrow, 10 a.m. That will be the first practice here from Westfield. Again, it is report day for the 2026 training camp, and this is the final one from Westfield, Indiana. There was a part of me, James, kind of walking in here with you this morning. I'm very curious to see, like, what does next year look like, training camp-wise? You know, I mean, we're just so used to fans showing up here and great access. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. I know I've said it probably a million times, but the access here at Grand Park, like, it would be different if you were at a high school. I mean, you've been to a million high school football stadiums. So what do you have at a high school football stadium? You got a big old track around the field. So you're naturally,
going to be farther back.
Yeah. You're right here. I mean, we are literally 30 yards from the practice field, in the stands right behind us are exactly that. So, I mean, right now at West 56th Street at their complex, I mean, there's not enough parking. I mean, do you use those soccer fields next door?
Yeah, see, I don't know if nostalgic is the right word walking in, Kevin, but it definitely made me want to, like, linger a little bit. And I'm sure when I get into the rhythm of camp, that might wane a little bit. But towards the end of camp, knowing that whenever our last practice is out here, I'll definitely have to, get a selfie or something on the field, or just take a picture of the field itself to remember what it was like being out here. But, yeah, I worry about the access when it comes to the common fan. I do think that if you're going to come down to, okay, we're going to have certain access for training camp practices over at the team facility, my thinking is, would that be reserved for your season ticket holders and the people who obviously spend a lot of money on the product, on your organization, but for the fans who, this might be their one time to come see you or be able to make it work schedule-wise or money-wise, do they kind of get X out of the picture because you just don't have enough room for them?
I hope not, but unfortunately, it's a fair point that you do bring up. If I somehow brought a golf club onto this field right now and try to hit wedge shots,
I would not know you.
So if I tried to hit wedge shots through the uprights, do you think I could get 3 shots in before I was reprimanded? Do you think there's any chance they would kind of look at me and be like, I'm so stunned. He thinks that's acceptable right now. I'm going to wait a little bit longer before someone really reprimands that individual.
Yeah, I don't think you would last very long at all. I think you'd probably get tackled like some of the streakers or fans we see on the field at the Super Bowl.
But I have the golf club.
It don't matter.
No?
Nah, they're gonna put you down, brother. And then I'm gonna take the golf club.
Didn't you see what happened when Tiger Woods got in that accident outside his house with the golf club? I believe the missus might have got a hold of the golf club.
I think the last accident he was in, he might have called the president. You ain't got that kind of access, brother.
Oh boy, that's an understatement. I think
I would actually have to call Maddie and say, hey, your knucklehead husband. Hey, nice to meet you, by the way. Your knucklehead husband's in the slammer.
The grass looks that good to me right now, though.
It does, but don't listen to the devil on your shoulder, brother. Because I ain't bailing you out. I'm sorry. I know we're like 2 peas in a pod, but not on that.
Gosh, I thought we had some loyalty. I thought we had some strong.
Not loyalty with stupidity. I'm sorry.
some
Yo, friend, jump off a bridge. You gonna jump too?
Some strong chemistry there. Did they ever give a good reason as why they're leaving Grand Park? Aren't they leaving the contract early? They are. I believe they're. I think it was originally a 10-year deal, James, and I think they're leaving here with a couple of years left on it. I believe they did have some sort of out, like an 18-month out that they clearly have exercised with this. But, to be fair, I guess this is kind of the trend around the NFL. This is what we've seen. Teams move their camps back to their own facility. So I do think there's a logistical element to it, but I think it's a huge bummer for all fans. And I would stress the all aspect to it. I understand that, people are obviously paying good money for, season tickets and corporate this and all of that, but it's tremendous access for fans that maybe don't have those resources that others do. So, that's another reason why I think I'd like to hear from Carly Ursay-Gordon, frankly, here during training camp, because that's probably a better question for her than it would be for like a Chris Ballard or somebody along those lines. All right, 8 o'clock hour upcoming here in Westfield. Again, a couple Colts players scheduled to join us. We'll keep you posted on exactly who and when that will be, and much more on the news items from yesterday. What do you make of the Alec Pierce and C.J. Allen situations? We'll hit on that on the other side. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, on-site engineer Cam Blankenship here, live Grand Park, Westfield. It is Colts training camp report day. Hey, what's up, Case?
Indoor and outdoor concrete, that is Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Again, when we say indoor and outdoor concrete, think garages, think basements, think patios, porches, and sidewalks. 24 hours, that was all it took really on site at our house. Tyler and Preston, great work from an installation standpoint. Again, they were installing new sidewalk, new front porch. Super pleased with the results. We're now a couple summers into it and very, very happy with the look of it. Manufacturer upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime. I don't envision that being an issue, but it's just some nice reassurance to have here. Again, it's indoor and outdoor concrete. That's Galaxy Concrete Coatings, garages, basements, patios, porches, and sidewalks. The best in the business, Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Contact them today at galaxyconcretecoatings.com.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
All right, 8 o'clock hour, Westfield, Indiana. It was a sticky start here. Very training camp-like, frankly, outside of the sun. It certainly feels like it. Temperature-wise, players starting to report for camp, I guess. Are we on Jonathan Taylor watch, James, or do you think that's more of a we need to hear it from him? Because technically when he had his hold in, however you want to define it, a few years ago, he technically did report to camp. He just didn't participate.
Yes, and he was also technically injured at the time. You know, the old
I don't know
ankle,
about technically, but
you know, what do you mean?
Seemed to be very healthy once the ink dried on the old contract.
Hey, money would heal me in a lot of different ways, KB.
Yeah.
But
who needs children's Motrin to heal your kid when you just hand him some money?
Exactly. But, yes, I probably instigated a lot of this myself, but just to kind of put you all in position as far as what's going on, the reason why I said if I were in JT's shoes, I would hold in or potentially just ruffle some feathers is I think he has a ton of leverage when it comes to the amount of touches he's going to have, money he's trying to get, things like that. Because to me, it's just not worth it, in my opinion, to come out here and just give your body up and basically sacrifice so much when you haven't been rewarded as such. That's just my take on the matter.
I think we just Tetris that extension cord very well.
I know if I sounded choppy there, I was trying to tell him, like, hey, I don't really necessarily need to charge a laptop. It's probably charged up by now, but we made it work.
We did. 11 a.m. today, we'll hear from Chris Ballard. And, again, some Colts players scheduled to join us here in a little bit. Once we get confirmation on those names, we will alert you. Let's go back to the news item of yesterday, James, and that would be Alec Pierce and C.J. Allen on the physically unable to perform list. PUP is the acronym that we use quite often
with that. Could you explain for our audience that might not be super familiar with exactly what that means for Allen and Pierce?
So the physically unable to perform list basically means a player is not ready to participate in training camp when it begins. It does count towards your 90-man summer roster, but the only time that it really gets into, okay, are they going to miss time during the season is when we get to the regular season and if they're still on that list. But for right now, I would say it's not a huge deal. You're just waiting for them to be brought off of that list, which can happen at any point throughout training camp. So, for example, Alec Pierce could be on the physically unable to perform list for 2 days or 2 weeks. It just depends on his recovery process. But that is the layman's way of putting it.
Let's start with Pierce, because, again, I don't think it's the most shocking news. You know, we touched on this a lot yesterday. It was kind of my assumption that he would be on PUP. If you want to go off of the timetable he provided for us, we were at 4 months into a rehab that was 4 to 6 months. Late March surgery for him coming off that ankle. You know, you can get into some, I think it's beneficial for him to be on the field. He's trying to complete his route tree. He's trying to become more of a number one wideout. He can't just be hey, let's target Alec Pierce 3 times in the game. He'll catch one, he'll draw a pass interference penalty on the other, and the other one will fall incomplete. No, you need a little bit more from him
Definitely.
now. But I want to go in a different direction in relation to Pierce. Do you think his injury situation influences how they view adding a veteran wideout at all?
To me, it depends on if it lingers, Kevin, which is why I think whatever information we get from Alec himself or from GM Chris Ballard will be kind of vital toward assessing their situation. Because, again, if he's going to miss the first few days of practice, but he'll be out here later this week, then I probably would say stand down on adding a receiver. But if it's one of those things where, again, 4 to 6 months, 6 months to put you right up against the start of the season, if it's towards that end of the recovery, then I think you should probably add another receiver just in case he isn't ready to go. Or if he is ready to go, he's limited in any way. So it's a unique situation, and one where, quietly, if he isn't where he needs to be, that really does kind of hit your wide receiver room, because the only other proven receiver you have in there, at least I would say proven to the degree of in this offense, will be Josh Downs. The rest of them, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, yes, he's a veteran. He's had success in the league. But at the same time, I wouldn't sit here and say right now today, he's just going to slide right in and be, producing in this offense. That may not be the case. And then for Ashton Dulin, I know he's been very good in spots, but also not to be bogus toward him, Kevin, but at the same time, if he had been a better receiver throughout his career, would this opportunity not have come sooner for him? I think about that from time to time.
Yeah, I've heard that about Dulin, and part of me is like, given the makeup of the Colts depth chart, though, like, who would he have supplanted in previous years? Like, Pittman, Pierce, and Downs have really been the trio for several of those years.
That's fair.
Even when he first got added as an undrafted free agent, T.Y. Hilton was still a thing for a couple seasons there. So I understand where people are coming from with that, but I think it's a little bit of did they need that additional wideout?
And to give him credit, he has produced whenever they've asked him to do more on the wide receiver side.
It's just a small sample size,
exactly.
And now you could be expanding that role. It is just one of these things with Pierce, and again, Buckner falls into this category, Daniel Jones falls into this category, Charvarius Ward falls into this category. Across 32 NFL training camps, and all 32 teams are reporting to training camp by the end of today. There are injury questions for all of these teams, but I think where this one really hits is Jones at quarterback, Pierce at wide receiver, Buckner on the defensive line, Ward at corner. We're talking premium players and premium positions. And I think that's where the nervousness comes from in projecting this season of, we're not talking about, their backup tight end's banged up, or their second linebacker is dealing with an injury. We're talking about a list, James, that Pierce, Buckner, Jones, Ward, 4 of your top 10 most important, best. I don't know how you want to define them, but I'd put them pretty high on the list. They're much more of a front of the program guys than, back of the program guys.
Definitely. I was a back of the program guy.
I was just happy to be in the program anywhere. Hell, put me in the credits.
There you go. There's a front of the program guy. Mike Chappell, the dean, is in the house.
Front of the program. He should be on the side of Lucas Oil Stadium.
I know. We got vegetables on the menu coming up for you, Chap.
I'm sure he's thrilled to hear that. Yeah. Again, we are live here at Grand Park. Players starting to trickle in, and it'll be report day coming up all morning long. And again, Chris Ballard will meet the media at about 11 o'clock here. Is Jake on site today, Cam? No, he's back in studio. I think Jake will be here coming up tomorrow, so 10 to 1 each of the next 3 days, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning practices, and we'll have you covered leading into Jake at 10. The C.J. Allen news from yesterday also on the PUP list. This was, again, more of a surprise, but from the sound of it, doesn't appear to be too severe.
That's what we were told, Kevin. We'll wait and see if we can get more information today on C.J. Allen, but it's my understanding that he injured his calf in a recent workout, and they're just being precautious with it moving forward. So it is not something that is, in my opinion, Kevin, easily dismissed. These are valuable reps for the rookie. No matter how great his college career was, the NFL is still a different beast. And so you want to see him out there sooner rather than later, especially considering that he's projected, in my eyes, to be a starter.
Did you think about C.J. Allen at all on your most indispensable list?
I did. But when doing the list, I decided not to put any rookies or second-year players who just hadn't played yet. In a way, I felt like it was a bit unfair to say, okay, you're indispensable when I just don't even know what your level of play is in the NFL. But it did come to mind, and if we're just talking about in a vacuum, yeah, he probably is pretty indispensable because you traded away your top linebacker to the Green Bay Packers, and then you drafted C.J. Allen, your first pick in this year's class, not a first-round pick, but second-round pick nonetheless. Those guys are supposed to play and make plays for you sooner rather than later again. Yeah,
again, I'll go back to something I said in the 7 o'clock hour. Like, if I'm ranking the 90 Colts on their roster right now and saying, okay, who would you put at the top of that list as they really need reps on this grass here coming up across these 13 practices at Grand Park, I don't get very far on the list before I put C.J. Allen's name. And that's strictly to do with kind of the responsibility on his plate and that he's a rookie. I don't know if there's going to be these immense, like, physical growing pains for C.J. Allen. I mean, he played at Georgia.
Yeah.
Like SEC football for that defense.
Well, this is Big Ten country, okay? Relax. He ain't play at IU.
I'm not going to bring up the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame or anything like that with them here, but it's more of just really the cerebral communication nature to it.
Yes.
Of, again, how much is that going to be a burden or a challenge for him? Because, to stress this one more time, the schedule does not ease into it. You don't have the Giants and the Browns. You have the Giants and the Browns late in the season. Hell, you don't have the Titans in the first month of the season. Ideally, you'd have New York, Cleveland, and Tennessee somewhere in the month of September. You got 2 MVP quarterbacks to start the year. So C.J. Allen, again, as many reps, and Lou did mention this in the spring, there were some rookie moments to be expected from him. And Lou Anarumo's never had a rookie be his signal caller. And I guess whenever the Colts do get to practice tomorrow morning, Lou did mention this. Maybe you don't have your Mike linebacker be the signal caller if Allen is out. Do they put that at Cam Bynum's feet, or do they just say, you know what, Bryce Betcher or whoever else is going to be the middle linebacker for that day, you stick with that?
It's an interesting concept because what if it happens during the season? Like, who is your backup green dot, and do you want to make sure that's somebody who is a full-time starter, whereas Bryce Betcher probably would not be,
right?
At least projected now to be a full-time starter. And to give Lou some credit here, he has said in the past that he's given the green dot responsibilities to safeties at times. I know he had Jesse Bates a couple years ago in Cincinnati, and he was a very good safety for them, a smart player, and I would venture to say Cam Bynum's also a pretty cerebral and smart player as well.
Do you regret you backing over Arby's like you did earlier in the show?
No chance. Nobody eats Arby's unless you're sponsored by them like Sophie Cunningham.
Oh, man, wow.
I know she mentioned that. I actually thought about that. I'm dead serious, Cam.
I mean, curly,
our engineer is laughing.
You're acting like you'd rather eat metal than eat curly fries.
I'm not eating Arby's. Like, you got to give me more. Actually,
no,
this is the person to ask this. I'm not going with mozzarella sticks. I'm not going to Arby's.
I will say this,
Christian
Joel
Erickson has arrived here, And I almost want to hand him a headset to ask him this, but I, will not.
Joel, rank them. Zaxby's, Wendy's, Arby's. The 3 fast food joints you see here off the exit at 191st.
Just the fast food joint?
Yeah. Zaxby's.
Zaxby's is the best.
Zaxby's number 1 for Joel. Wendy's or Arby's?
Arby's. Zaxby's, Arby's, Wendy's.
Oh, my God.
Wow, Wendy's at 3rd?
Arby's should be last.
Oh, my gosh. No wonder your Brewers got shut out last night. Oh, man. The Wendy's slander. Dave Thomas is turning over in his – I have no idea if he's alive or not.
I just had a spicy chicken like 2 weeks ago. And it was awesome.
From where?
From Wendy's?
Oh, okay. I was about to say, don't eat anything from Arby's. Okay.
Christian, as much as I appreciate you defending Arby's, once you told us you willingly went to Long John Silver's.
Exactly. He's excluded from this.
Part of me wants to mute your mic, to be honest with you.
My goodness, Christian.
You might lose respect for me as a man, and that kind of happens with Long John Silver's. I get it.
Literally, they're all there in the back like, wait, is somebody really at the drive-thru right now?
Yeah, they're like, this is supposed to be free money.
And we're not getting ding-dong ditched? This is like a real human that wants to pay food for us?
I can't believe that. I ain't had Long John Silver since I was riding the bus, the CTA in Chicago with my grandma. And Hush Puppies was like, a treat after a day out.
Oh, my gosh. That is just unbelievable.
That's all right. We all have our quirks. At least he has his pants on back there in the studio, I would assume. So.
Well, we know Mark won't once he gets back in studio coming up tomorrow. Again, we will be live here all week long. Come say hey. Gates open at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Practice time, again, 10. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's the same schedule. All 3 of those days. We're on the northwest corner of the practice fields up here in Westfield, and we'll get things started coming up tomorrow morning. It is report day here at Grand Park. It's been a while. Were you on the beat when Pardo Ward drove Kenny Moore into training camp right here? It's been a while since we've had one of those, unique training camp entrances.
Yeah, I was not on the beat when that happened, so I haven't seen anything kind of crazy. I know Reggie Wayne has some stories about when he arrived at camp and things like that. But, I just see the regular old, bring him around the golf cart, hop off, and that's about it. But I would love to see Daniel Jones coming on the helicopter.
No, boy.
I think that fits his personality.
As soon as you said that, I just thought of what could go wrong.
Oh, come on. I didn't think that at all. Jeez.
I mean, I couldn't be the only one.
Jeez. Well, in that case, no, do not bring him on a helicopter. Gosh, I didn't think, anything nefarious going on.
What do you want him parachuting down to the 50-yard line with the ball? Is he delivering the ball to start the day?
I want him wrapped up in just a bunch of pillows and parachuting down. Tuck and roll. Let's see if that Achilles is healthy.
Tuck and roll. Yeah, Pardo Ward, it was right out here next to the Indy 11 complex.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, he drove Kenny Moore. And I distinctly remember, Chap can definitely remember this, when Reggie Wayne, Ed Carpenter drove him. I think was it in a 2-seater? Yeah, I think it was Ed driving and Reggie in the back of that, and that was down Scatterfield up there in Anderson University.
So now I have a question. If you could pick any intro to training camp yourself, how would you arrive?
I like the IndyCar. I like the IndyCar angle. If I remember correctly, Edgerrin James did a taxi to Terre Haute, and Chap can tell this story. Cam, will you go ask Chap for the details? Don't make him get up, but ask him the Edgerrin James taxi story. Terre Haute. Tell him that I want to know the details on that. I want to say Edge gave the dude a handsome amount of money for the old taxi from Indy to Terre Haute.
That's kind of crazy.
I mean, can you imagine if you're, yellow tag? I mean, this is what? I mean, Edge was a Colt. We're talking over 20 years ago.
This isn't like, hit the Uber up. They know exactly where you're going.
Right. Exactly.
You hop in and you're like, wait a second, we got to drive over an hour?
Yeah. So I think that was one of the more iconic ones. But, I think Reggie one time showed up with, the hard hat on, I'm clocking in for work here. So, yeah, I think you'd want something along those lines, something sentimental. I'm a sucker for the IndyCar, so I'd probably roll with that.
See, I would probably roll with something like Grover Stewart's tractor. He's got to have a tractor. He seems like somebody who owns some land down there, down south. He's a Southern guy.
Well, certainly Pittman would have, right?
Yes, exactly. Or Michael Pittman Jr. if he was still here. I would like to come in on the tractor, but Grover specifically because he would have the wings. I heard Grover's a pretty good chef. Get some wings in me. Get ready for training camp. I'm ready to go.
You got one more cheat day left in you before
you
got to start.
I think I can afford a cheat day. We got the camera on me. I can afford a cheat day.
Well, certainly Christian did with his old Long John Silver's that I'm afraid he's still I'm afraid he's still running to that
you know what?
second floor
I
stall.
want all of my friends to love themselves more. This is a good intervention for Christian to love himself just a little bit more.
Next time,
love
bring
him
in cupcakes
like I
and
love
bringing
him.
in some Long John Silvers too.
Oh, no. Look. I want you to stay in business. I don't want you to be like, Arby's, okay?
Hey,
I don't know how that place stays
whatever
open.
that blueberry cheesecake thing was the other day, Christian, that was excellent.
Look, Christian's a man of million talents. That's why, he's got to have higher standards.
Yeah.
He's raised my taste buds, now he's got to raise his own.
Amen to that. Colts players trying to report to training camp. Again, they'll be in the tent adjacent to us here at Grand Park. They'll be meeting the media throughout this morning, beginning around 8:30 for that. And we should have a player or two join us here on air. Christian, let's go ahead and check it down on this Tuesday morning.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by Suave Men Refreshing Face and Body Wash on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
So again, James, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those are 10 a.m. start times to each of those practice days. 3 o'clock coming up on, 4 o'clock, I believe, coming up on Saturday. And then we'll be back out here Monday and Tuesday morning of next week. We will also hear from Chris Ballard at 11 o'clock today. What's on your mind in regards to the 10th year GM?
I'm very curious to get any sort of health updates on Alec Pierce, if not from Alec Pierce himself, DeForest Buckner and others, C.J. Allen, of course. But one question I do want to ask him, Kevin, is we saw that report about Tyrion Arnold. The Colts are interested in him. Where does that stand, and why, if that report is true, according to Tyrion's agent, why were you interested in a player that was involved with 8 felonies?
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that story. Is there anything more on Arnold and visiting places or?
No, not since his last court appearance. From my understanding, he did get clearance from the judge to sort of get work release to go out and do things as far as training camp and trying out for teams. But, why were you kicking the tires on a cornerback who is currently involved in some stuff that really hasn't been resolved yet?
Cam, did you get the update from Mike Chappell on Edgerrin James and the taxi to Terre Haute?
I did not. He was in a long-winded story over there.
Oh, so Chap.
So Chap. I did look it up.
Okay.
I did look it up, and well, the way I read it was that his license was suspended, so that him and Reggie Wayne took a 75-mile taxi ride from Indianapolis all the way to Terre Haute, and it turns out the driver of the taxi's license was also suspended.
I knew there was something unique
What?
with this story. Yes. Yeah. I knew
And how do we know they were they stopped on the way? I have so many more questions.
Yeah, well, usually with Edge, I think there could be a couple of different questions there.
Typically, when my license is suspended, I don't want anybody to find out.
Hey, as long as Edge got there safe and sound, that's all that matters for the Colts.
That is true.
And Rose Holman. Fever action coming up tonight. It is a late one, 9:30. They're out west here to start the second half of the season. The Seattle Storm, James, they gave the Fever everything they could handle. A week and a half ago inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse?
That was the 45 points and 10 assists game for Caitlin Clark, the only WNBA player in history to have 40 points and 10 assists in the same game. Let's just hope, I guess, that she won't need those heroics tonight because it means that the other team is really on them. But nevertheless, I think Caitlin's been playing great as of late, and we'll see how she and the rest of the team looks coming out of the All-Star break, which should be a pretty big stretch here. 17 games. Only 6 at home, and we also have to include that little FIBA World Cup break, which we're getting to that point, Kevin, where we start asking, is she going to play? Well, I guess her and Aaliyah, will they play FIBA basketball?
Do you think the porta potties are open yet here?
They have to be for someone like you.
Gosh, you know me. I like to pee a couple times a show.
I know. I think they're open. They got to be open.
All right. I'm getting that urge here. Major League Baseball.
Thank you for announcing it.
Major League Baseball last night, Mother Nature kind of rearing her ugly head. We obviously felt that in Central Indiana. Reds postponed hosting the Guardians. Cubs, they were delayed early, but they got it done over the Cardinals. 9-3, Joel Erickson moping in the corner over there as his Brewers lose to the Giants. 3-0. Indianapolis Indians down in Louisville starting today. What else we got? Big Ten Media Day from a college football standpoint. Again, they divide these media days now up into 3 separate days.
I couldn't imagine doing 3 days of that.
I mean, how many Big Ten teams do we have? 18?
I think the last time I checked it was – has it not reached 20? I have to check and see.
I mean, that is a huge amount. So we will hear from Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti today. That's up in Chicago.
We're at 18.
18, there you go.
I always laugh at the fact that Oregon and Rutgers are in the same.
Nothing like a Oregon-Rutgers Tuesday volleyball match to really
just like
get you
both
going there.
coasts right there.
Yeah, Big Ten Network. Yeah, got to be a big-time draw for that. I want to say Purdue is tomorrow, Barry Odom and company, and then Kurt Signetti on Thursday. I do need to double-check that. But again, Tony Petitti, Big Ten Commissioner. We'll see if he's got any grand statements on the state of college football or college athletics. He will be meeting the media today. And speaking of IU, they wrapped up their foreign tour down in Peru. And as they did to pretty much all these opponents, they smoked the Virgin Islands in the championship game. The Alabama transfer, the skilled big man Aiden Sherrill, he was your MVP down there in Peru. Purdue continuing their tour. They're up in Canada here. I believe they've got a game or two left on their foreign tour. Nothing foreign about us being in Westfield, Indiana or Grand Park. It is another training camp here. Unfortunately, it is the last one here in Westfield. It's report day for the Colts. We should have a player or two join us coming up as we get into the back half of the show. But Christian, let's get a little weather update on this Tuesday morning.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Live here, Westfield, Indiana, where we will call home each of the next 6 mornings. I'm Kevin Bowen, James Boyd alongside. Thank you to Christian Oates back in studio, and to Cam Blankenship, our on-site engineer. It sounds like a couple of pass catchers will be joining us on the show today. We'll confirm times for you on that as best we can, but potentially Josh Downs and Tyler Warren on the show here coming up today. A contract year for Mr. Downs and a year 2 for the budding tight end star out of Penn State.
Well, I love to ask about money, so that might not be question number one, but it'll be included. Mr. Downs, what are you thinking about as far as numbers, my boy? And so we talked to him in the spring about that. If I had to guess, Kevin, I would say he probably will not be extended going into the last year of his contract. He's coming off a career low 566 receiving yards, but I was actually having this conversation a little bit during the break with our on-site engineer, Cam Blankenship. How many catches and targets do you think Josh Downs will have this year, Kevin, considering that Pittman is no longer here? He led the team in catches in 4 of the last 5 years, and you need someone to fill that void.
Yeah, I don't know if Josh Downs would say this. I mean, maybe we can try and ask him this, but, you think there's any part of him that doesn't want an extension? Do you want to bet on yourself?
I do think there's a part of him that will want that.
Right, because, theoretically, you're going to be asked to do a lot more. I mean, right now, I would assume he's going to have his most targeted season of his NFL career so far. So that is a question that I would have as well, because, last year was a down year in production. Now, again, I think there's important context. Ironically, the two guys we're having on, I think the presence of Tyler Warren contributed to Josh Downs not having as many targets.
Reggie Wayne said so himself last year.
Yeah. So, again, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren scheduled to join us here coming up in a little bit. I was kind of going through my my 53 questions piece that I did last week, and just kind of any lingering questions. Will Travarius Ward wear a Guardian cap? I know to some people that might be like, what a stupid question, but it's like, boy, we're talking about a dude with 3 concussions, and correct me if I'm wrong, James, but I feel like the Colts didn't have too many guys wear one.
No.
I know it was discussed a little bit. Like Jonathan Taylor, didn't he wear one in practice, but then didn't?
He wore it in the preseason.
Didn't like the feel of it.
Didn't
correct?
like it. But also, to give JT some credit, I remember asking him about it, and he showed me this chart basically of, okay, here's what they say is a healthy helmet. Here's, what I have. It's in the deep green. And so for those listening, the chart is basically, it goes from green to red, and you want to make sure you're in the deep green with your helmet. And so every year they have different regulations, specifications that get modified and updated. So every couple of years, every player has to update their helmet no matter how good it feels, how comfortable they are with it, because the regulations no longer fit. And so all that to say, he basically showed me, well, there's no real data to say if I wear this Guardian cap, it's healthier than the top-rated helmet as well. So sometimes, I don't know if it could be like a placebo effect, Kevin, where you just feel like you're just safer because you have it on, but it's a fair question to throw at Travarius Ward because we saw how traumatizing those concussions were for him.
And again, we got asked earlier, what is exciting about this 2026 Colts team? I think the potential of a Sauce Gardner, Travarius Ward pairing is very exciting. I mean, I think that can be a elite outside cornerback duo, but again, health has to cooperate when it comes to that. I mean, the other question, and it's kind of crazy, we're 90 minutes into today's show, and this might be the first time I've said the name Anthony Richardson on air.
Good point.
And usually, I mean, he's still on the roster, right? Is the trade request still there? Are we still splitting reps between him and Riley Leonard? Again, those reps, based off Daniel Jones seemingly being a full go, those reps are about to get real limited real quick for those two. Now, having said that, the preseason game reps, if Richardson is still on the roster, that is huge. I mean, you got 3 games where Daniel Jones theoretically won't play. That's 12 quarters of Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard potentially playing a whole lot. And then, James, what are we, Friday or Saturday?
Yeah.
That's where his roster bonus of north of $4 million becomes guaranteed there. So does that impact things at all?
Yeah, I do think the roster bonus could impact some things, Kevin, because if you get to Friday, suddenly if a team wants to trade for him after that roster bonus is kicked in and the Colts have to pay it, it'll only cost the other team $1 million. And so you will basically be saying, we'll give up a 7th-round pick, a 6th-round pick for a $1 million flyer on a quarterback who will be a free agent next year. Is it worth it? That's for that team to decide, but I think that's probably the next unofficial deadline for us to see any sort of movement with Anthony Richardson.
Do you think that they'll just continue the 50-50 split we saw in the spring between him and Leonard?
I think so. If he's still on the roster, I don't see why you wouldn't do it, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't awkward. He still wants to be traded. It has not been rescinded. I want out of here. It's been like that since February.
And again,
it's July now.
The 50-50 split is like you're giving each of them 1/4 of a kid's meal.
Yeah.
And that's just how the reps get divided up. I mean, assuming Daniel Jones is full go, like he's doing all the normal starting quarterback work, Daniel Jones eats a little healthier, frankly, from a portion standpoint.
He ain't eating Arby's.
no,
Long John Silver's.
Man, I can't believe that you're anti-curly fries as much as you are.
It's not. I can't pull up to a place just for fries. That's my point. Like, the fries might not be bad, but if I go to a fast food
they
place,
could be a key tiebreaker.
Oh, no. I feel like if your burger or whatever is trash, I'm not going.
You don't think the McDonald's fries are intriguing enough to some people that it can be a key tiebreaker?
No, I feel like McDonald's has proven that they are multifaceted, multi-talented, not just fries. The fries are the staple, but it ain't just the only thing you're going for. Well, I'm going for is for curly fries. I gotta not be going there.
When you say staple, it sounds like they are the central figure. They're the standard. They're the Quentin Nelson of the offensive line.
I'll be asking this question for the rest of the day now. You've sent me down a rabbit hole.
I can't believe Joel Erickson put Wendy's last.
I know.
That's some slang.
I would say I'm judging his food decisions, but he does find the best restaurants on the road.
That is absolutely disrespectful. I mean, I couldn't believe that. And I like Joel a lot.
Is that going to make you rethink something?
Well, I mean,
whether you like him or not.
I mean, some people that I don't care for. I'm not going to be too worried about.
Okay, fair enough.
About their opinions, but I've always said Joel's got 3 boys. I've got 2 girls. I'd call it a good day if one of the Erickson boys married one of the Bowen girls. That'd be a win for me.
You're a character.
That'd be a win. Josh Downs, Tyler Warren scheduled to join us here. Again, Chris Ballard, 11 a.m. today, and then tomorrow we'll get things started. We got this question a little bit throughout the opening hour of the show, James. Yesterday, Alec Pierce, C.J. Allen, both on the physically unable to perform list, but DeForest Buckner was not. You have an inkling one way or the other what that means for Buckner here as we get practice started tomorrow?
I don't. I know I tweeted about, hey, I would assume that he perhaps is not on there, but I may have been a bit premature with that. It could come down to when he reported for camp. So if he reports today and doesn't pass his physical, then there's a possibility he could be on the physically unable to perform list. And we've seen it happen in years past, Kevin, where we even talked to Chris Ballard at, let's say, 11 or 12, and then a couple hours later somebody else ends up on that list because that's when they reported. They reported after we spoke to those who are kind of in charge of things. So we'll see where things stand probably by the end of today. And then obviously tomorrow, if he's not out there, we get to start asking more questions about what's going on with his health after having neck surgery. And then one thing I kind of have to just do for note keeping, Kevin, is ask him when he had the surgery. I know it was near the end of last season, but I'm not sure when exactly he had the procedure. That way we can at least have a timeline ourselves of, okay, let's say he had it in January. It's now July, 7 months removed from it. Where is he at?
Yeah, because when he, initially some of the early rehab was like, I couldn't pick up my toddler-age kids.
Yeah.
And, again,
and he told us that he thought about retirement.
Right. And I was struck by several of the comments that he made in the spring when he was explaining, coming back to play for whatever this is, 10th season for him.
11th, but
11 there. But when he also said, like, I have to change up some of my technique, like that really struck me as well. You've been playing in the league for that long, but yet, this next situation, your injury situation, has led to that aspect to it. It's a different player, because I think you talk to any Colts coaches and they will be like, yes, we understand when Daniel Jones, left, or I shouldn't say left, but when he tore his Achilles, obviously things went to hell offensively. But remember, DeForest Buckner's final snaps of the season, outside of that brief appearance in the San Francisco game, was against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the derail of the season as well. Now, it might just have been whatever, ironic that it happened in a similar time fashion of the offense, hitting the lull that it did there. But, Buckner is such a vital cog. I love watching Bob Kravitz mimic his golf swing over here. He's done it now 3 or 4 times.
You want me to mimic mine?
Well, I don't want to call Westfield PD this early in the morning here. Can we hide the camera? Jeez, man.
Does it look as smooth as it feels?
Again, Christian, I said it a few weeks ago. It looked like Charles Barkley got electrocuted.
You know what? Christian, cut the cameras. It's time for me to start moving some furniture out here at Westfield.
Bob, you ever seen James Boyd swing a golf club?
Oh, see, come on now, Bob. Come on now.
I saw you mimicking your swing over there. It looks smooth as butter. Oh.
I can't get the ball in the air, but smooth.
No, that thing looked immaculate there. Then James got up and tried to mimic it, and man, we're going to call Colts security here to the practice fields.
Well, you're the one trying to get, a couple of tee shots done here on the field.
I would love to. By the way, shout out, Bob, to your golf outing, raising money for ALS at Country Club of Indianapolis a week ago Monday.
Real well. It was a great success.
Good.
And shout out to Scott Pollard, who had
Scott Pollard had his yesterday, right?
Hills of Life golf tournament yesterday. It was a big event.
Love that. Where was that at?
That was at Sagamore.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah, they asked me.
Sagamore action.
I asked it. I'm like,
Yeah. Don't have to tell me twice. A little Sagamore action, and again, Country Club of Indianapolis for Bob, raising money for the ALS Foundation a week ago Monday.
How about this, KB, just real quick? This is a P1 listener. We got this through the text line from RC. Leave your glasses at the table, KB, if you go to the porta potty.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. Shout out to the wonderful Sausage Fest over there at St. Thomas Aquinas.
And you did go in.
I did. I dropped the sunglasses into the porta potty and I went in. Now, I must share this. Speaking of going in the porta potty, I mentioned to you a couple weeks ago, I guess about a week and a half ago now, we went to the John Mellencamp concert right up here, up at Ruoff. And someone in the group that we were with appeared from the bathroom holding a phone. And I was like, can you just put it in your pocket? Like kind of holding it up in the air like it was a prized possession. They saw the phone sitting in the toilet, not their own phone, and got it out. Good Samaritan, or you need to have 7 showers before I sit next to you at the concert.
I would like to say I do the same, but I also think that I'm pretty shallow, so I don't know.
Concert hadn't started yet, so maybe there weren't any significant droppings in said toilet. I didn't happen to go in there and dissect it for myself there, but Good Samaritan or...
Dang, they must have to really go to the bathroom to feel that light afterwards.
I'm thinking to myself...
Because I feel like I would know if my phone is in my pocket or not. So if I'm leaving the porta potty, I'm thinking, boy...
yeah, they got to be loose at that hour there.
Again, eating that Arby's and that Long John Silver's will clean you out.
Man.
Will clog you up.
Hey, shout out to... I said Good Samaritan, and then I said, can you stand over there?
Yeah, that's rough.
But again, I mean, pot kettle black. You're talking to someone that... drop their sunglasses
Those
in there.
$5 glasses, man.
They weren't $5.
$5
prescription sunglasses. We're live here. It is Westfield, Indiana.
Out of here.
I feel like the sun might try to peek its way out here. It's report day.
I need to get my tan on
at training camp, and we should have Josh Downs and Tyler Warren scheduled to join us here a little bit later in the show. Thank you for spending this Tuesday morning with us. It is the Fan Morning Show here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Man, Cam Christian, on-site engineer, Christian back in studio. Christian always slows it down, James Boyd.
I know.
Man,
he's setting the mood.
He is. Boy, I might need to ask him to share this Spotify with me here.
I'm taking tips. So I'm like, okay, I play this song, I get the Arby's, and I get the girl. Okay,
gotcha. Yeah. Well, maybe not in that order, honestly. You might want to rearrange those things. I did find the porta potty. Thank you to those listening. Worried about my bowel movements there, so I appreciate that. We are live here, Westfield, Indiana. You can see on the YouTube stream. What do you got? You got a little Colts City in the background, I think, of the YouTube stream. So
yeah.
Good morning to everybody out there.
Can't wait to smoke some kids tomorrow on the 40.
Good crowd, as always.
I might run it every day.
On the stream. Gosh, part of me is like, I'd love to see you get hurt and see these kids just laughing at you, but that's
dang, you praying on not to lose, but to get hurt? Are you kidding me?
That's just sick. Well, I watched you cut eight kids in line last year.
Yeah, I did the Bill Belichick. You remember when he walked out? I forget what game that was, and the kids
the Lions game. That's one of my favorite gifts out there. That was literally you. That's such a great analogy.
Well, I
for
will
what
say,
you were doing.
We're speaking of kids. I went back home this weekend, saw my cousins and godchildren, and they wanted to play 1-on-2 basketball. One of them is 10, the other one is 9. Beat them 10-0. I told them, "Come on now, like
you can't let them get a bucket or
two."
No,
you got to understand. In
That's
my family,
pathetic.
the amount of trash talk that you're just born into. So they were talking kind of crazy to me, and I'm like, "You don't want these problems." And I take my wins where I can get them. I'm not going to be a loser in life. I got to win somewhere. So gave them the old 10-0.
This texter wants to go back to, you were discussing Jonathan Taylor earlier, and again, you had a segment last week on the show about, you feel like Jonathan Taylor should hold out.
Yeah.
This texter saying, I'm not really sure what James is talking about when he says it's too big of a risk for Taylor to go out there and put himself in harm's way. That's why he signed the contract. A contract is binding until it's over, not 1 year before it's over.
Yeah, I never agree with that mindset because you can just do whatever you want if you're a player. That's like you saying that the first time he went through a contract negotiation, which he won, by the way, and got new money, that he should have just gone out there and played. No, if you have any sort of leverage, you use it. I think that that's common practice for any business. And so, yeah, I always think it's interesting when fans are like, well, they should honor the contract and they side with the team immediately. What happens when you sign a contract and the team just cuts you? Well, it's part of the parameters. I think that it's part of the game. It's part of the business side of football. So if I produce and I've, held up my end of the bargain, hold up your end of it. And again, I'm not saying he shouldn't honor his contract. I'm just saying that if you want to ruffle some feathers, that's also your right.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the other side of the fence in terms of him having this, great leverage right now. I understand he had a very healthy season last year, but when you needed him the most, he didn't perform at all the last 2 months of the season. Go look at his numbers. When you needed Jonathan Taylor more than anything, he was just another running back. Now, to be clear, I think that's part of playing running back. That's why I just look at that position and say I wouldn't draft one until day 3. That's just a philosophy that I have. I just don't, especially one that doesn't really impact the game on third down. Christian McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs.
So you mean to tell me if you're sitting there and you're the Arizona Cardinals, you're passing on Jeremiah Love?
Jeremiah Love impacts the game from a passing standpoint, unbelievable.
Okay, fair
Again,
enough.
Third down to me is a huge outlier in that. But it's just a position where you can get game planned out of the game. And again, Daniel Jones' injury certainly played into that. But if we did this song and dance, would you rather go play a football game tomorrow without Daniel Jones or without Jonathan Taylor? You'd say without Jonathan Taylor 10 times out of 10, would you not?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's where I understand that he is a great running back. He's been very durable throughout his career. But I don't sit here on July 28th, 2026, thinking he has some just absurd amount of leverage. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I get he was really healthy last season and all of that, but he's getting up there in age. The carry number is starting to get up there. Again, his third down presence has never really been a big thing in the NFL.
And if you think it was bad with me, good luck with the other guys.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, and I get that the depth chart lacks some substance, certainly behind him, but, yeah, I'm just not I'm not in this, Taylor standing on this unbelievable amount of leverage here as we come into camp. And to be fair, I also didn't get the impression in the spring that he had a lot of venomness
Nah.
towards this. Certainly, he sounded much different than he sounded June 2023.
I think it's different when you do get that first big payday, and that's usually what all running backs are trying to get just initially. Now, this could be different. And again, if I'm looking at it from a team perspective, I'm saying I'm not giving you a new contract. You got to go out there and play. And like our listener talked about, you got to honor your contract. I'm just saying if I'm in JT's shoes, I wouldn't just show up without at least thinking about, hey, wait a second, I might want to protect myself and try to see if I can get one more payday out of this before I put more wear and tear on my body. Because if I go out there and I have another great season, or if I get hurt, I think it's twofold. If you get hurt, it's like, well, we're not going to pay you now. But if you have a great season, but you got another 300 touches, well, you had 300 touches last year, we're still not going to pay you. So if I'm JT, I'm just thinking of like my leverage in that situation. But again, it is nuanced in my opinion. But the one thing I'll always kind of laugh at, and I probably will stay stubborn in this way, whenever we talk about contract negotiations and fans, and I've done it in the media too, we act like it's our money. They have all this cap space. What the heck are they going to spend it on anyway?
Yeah, that is a good point to bring up because, and, maybe Mark can play this audio. I think Christian would be too hard to find. But, remember when Ballard had that little kind of snippy back and forth with me in the spring about the cap? One day you'll learn, Kevin, something along those lines. And to me, twofold on that. I think he was referencing cash, not cap. And, again, that's more of an accounting method than anything. We can get into that, maybe in a bigger topic. But two, my assumption is, and what is their cap space right now? 25 million, 30 million, something like that? My assumption is some of that is thought to be saved for extensions. And I don't know if I should say extensions plurally, but as much as we talk about Taylor, what about Nelson?
Yeah.
Quentin Nelson, that is a position that has a little bit more longevity, I think, there. Right now, what, Nelson, Taylor, Downs, are those the three you ponder when it comes to potential contract extensions?
Yeah, I know that I think Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner are going into contract years, but I wouldn't extend either of those guys just because of their age. And then obviously the injury when it comes to DeForest Buckner.
Man, you see this Ohio State's going to put Chase Bank on their jerseys as their
are we there at this point?
As their jersey patch. Believed to be, according to the SBJ, believed to be worth more than $15 million annually.
Well, I'll probably do the same thing then. I hate that you could just sell all this stuff, but we're probably going to have a few jersey patches on college jerseys at this point.
Well, when your football rosters, I think I read somewhere like 10 or 12 football rosters are believed to be north of like $35 million this year in college football.
Do you think it'll ever get saturated to the point where like the money can't just continue to go up?
I don't think it. I think it's on an unsustainable path. I do. But I think you're going to have to get some real regulations to limit that. But yeah, to me, it's on an unsustainable path. And I know we briefly talked about this a couple of shows ago, but when I hear this like Super League discussion, Ohio State call Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Indiana would now be in that boat, certainly, whatever, Texas Tech maybe. They all band together and they say, why don't we just try to NFL it?
Yeah.
Why don't we pool all of our rights together? I can't see that because somebody's got to be bad in that league. If you have a 20-team league and they're playing a 12-game schedule, somebody's got to go 3-9. Well, if you go 3-9 for 3 straight years, are your boosters really going to pay to hire head coaches to pump all that money into a roster? I just don't believe that's a sustainable model whatsoever. Josh Downs, he probably doesn't want to talk about his college football program, but maybe Tyler Warren might. Those two are scheduled to join us coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. It is report day at Grand Park. Westfield, Indiana is where we are calling home. Again, morning practices Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Live here from Westfield, Kevin Bowen and James Boyd on the Fan Morning Show.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Is that some Gaga action right there?
Yes, sir.
Christian Oates on the ones and twos. Mark Dykton will be back tomorrow. Colts Report Day. We are live here in Westfield, Indiana. Grand Park is our location. Myself, Kevin Bowen, and James Boyd. You've been rapid fire typing away during the break. That always leads me to think that you're posting something. You're getting ready to post some news, are you? Or are you just
No. I was actually responding to Daniel from Shelby. Shout out to you for listening to the show. We were going a little back and forth on the whole contract thing, and I think the simplest way I can put this,
Jonathan Taylor's contract? Just
yes.
to update everybody.
And I think it's a simple concept. If I'm Jonathan Taylor, I'm saying I wanted a contract extension. The team has every right to say no. But here's what I'll lay out as like just my rough idea for an extension. I think people hear extension, they're like, oh, my God, 3 more years. No. What I would do, JT was willing to do it, is bump his salary up this year. We got a ton of cap space as it is. Hey, we'll get you to the top 5 highest paid running backs in the league. You've earned that.
Yeah, he's 7th right now. Is that right?
Exactly. And then I would add 1 more year onto his deal so he's under contract through the end of next season. And you might be wondering, like, why only 1 year? It would line up then with Daniel Jones because it doesn't benefit you, in my opinion, to, let's say JT has 1,200 yards this year, 10 touchdowns, solid season, and then he just walks next year? Is your team better without him? I would try to keep him under contract as long as I have Daniel Jones here under contract and see, okay, what is our window? Because if you're looking at it from the Colts' perspective, they told us their window, they believe, of winning now is this year, next year, because of what they did with Daniel Jones and your aging core. So I wouldn't want to risk Jonathan Taylor leaving in free agency next year and then having to replace that guy, especially if he's coming off a really good season.
Yeah, there's a lot of I probably still ask the question, like, should you be handing out any extensions?
Right. That's fair.
Now, again, I know it's a totally different debate, but they are sitting on a good chunk of cap space still. I mean, when I asked about a question months ago, that they're still pretty much on the same, here we are in late July. Are you just going to continue to stare at it? Or, again, with the extensions, and that's my assumption. My assumption is some of it is being saved for the extension. So those are storylines that are here at training camp and ones that will definitely be asked to Chris Ballard coming up. 11 o'clock for him. Josh Downs and Tyler Warren scheduled to join us here coming up at some point here in the 9 o'clock hour. More catches this year, Downs or Warren?
Oh, that's a great question. Dare I say Tyler Warren? I think you can get the ball to him in probably a more variety of ways.
Warren last year, 76 catches, and he didn't miss a game, right?
Not to my knowledge. I know he was sick for one of them.
Yeah, so 4.5 catches per game if you look at the Tyler Warren. And again, Josh Downs, much lower number, and I think obviously the presence of Warren had something to do with that. But, yeah, Josh Downs averaged 3.6. So, yeah, much less on the Tyler Warren versus the Josh Downs catches there.
I got a dip. Sounds like Buckner is coming through.
James Boyd going to go walk over to the adjacent tent over there. That would be one DeForest Buckner scheduled to join. Again, I know a lot of people brought this up, and James hit on this a little bit earlier, and we'll see Buckner's clarity when he meets the media here coming up. James will be back to report on that aspect of it. But we saw yesterday the Colts made a couple roster moves, 2 players they put on the physically unable to perform list, Alec Pierce being one of them, and then C.J. Allen being the other. Again, Allen, the surprise in that, players are away from the team for, about 6 weeks. So a lot of offseason training, and we see this. I brought it up on yesterday's show. We saw Anthony Costanzo suffer a hamstring injury when he was away from camp and ended up impacting the start of, I think it was the 2018, 2019 season, one of those years. Ended up being a huge deal. Now, the thought with Allen here is this is not a long-term issue here with this calf. I know the old calf word certainly impacts a lot of people, but James brought up the question earlier, did the announcement yesterday of just Allen and Pierce going on PUP, likely meaning they won't practice when the team gets on the field coming up tomorrow, what does that mean for DeForest Buckner? Would he then not be on the physically unable to perform list? I just assumed Buckner would not practice at the start of camp. I just got the vibe there. This is a much more of a we are trying to ramp up to week one sort of thing for a guy coming off very serious neck surgery and all that. So we'll get James's thoughts when he is done chatting over there with DeForest Buckner and the rest of the media. Christian Oates, you got a Colts question of the day to throw, I guess, my way for now, and we'll throw it James's way when he joins us?
Yeah, I think you guys talk a lot about the expectations for a lot of players coming into this season. Of course, Alec Pierce in his elevated role, Tyler Warren going into year 2. Are there any other players that you think might catch you off guard and sort of elevate their own expectations that you guys haven't talked about traditionally?
Let's actually pause there because I think Tyler Warren's about to join us right now as he's reporting for NFL Training Camp number 2 here. We are live on the Fan Morning Show from Grand Park. We'll get James Boyd back over here from the tents. Tyler, go ahead and throw that headset on. How you doing, man? Hey, before James comes back and joins us here, James is not a golfer. Can I ask you all the golf questions before we're back over here? Now, did I see this correct? Are you swinging left-handed and putting right-handed? Or
Yes.
is that or am I seeing things?
No, it is true.
Walk me through that. I'm fascinated. Left-handed golfer, right-handed putter.
Well, I hit righty in baseball, but I threw lefty. So I always putted, mini golf and stuff because I didn't play golf growing up. But I had a bad slice righty, so I switched. And I could switch hit for fun, not like a switch hitter, but I could kind of do it. So then I just tried hitting lefty to fix a slice, and I hit it a little bit better. So then I started hitting lefty, but I still had a righty putter, so I just putt righty.
Look at that. Yeah. And we're pleased with the putter, because people can be real finicky. Are
sometimes,
we good?
yeah, sometimes. So when I'm putting good, it looks like, this guy's smart. But
yeah,
if I'm putting bad, they might be have some questions about putting the other.
You got a favorite course in the area?
There's a lot of good courses. I don't know if I got a favorite.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm a big golfer, so I did enjoy seeing you get out there a little bit here in the offseason. Tyler Warren joining us here, year 2. Your offseason workout regime last year, prepping for whatever, combine, pro day, etc., versus this year. How different would you compare year 1 and year 2 based off all that offseason track meet that you're getting ready for versus a real NFL season?
Yeah, I think it's just, you're a lot more focused on the football part of it. I think when you're in the, draft prep and stuff like that, it's a lot of stuff you won't necessarily have to use after that, and you're doing all that stuff. But yeah, I think it was good just to, be in full-on football mode and just kind of working out for that.
Did you like prepping for the track meet, or did you just get tiresome after a while?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I would rather just been doing, real football stuff but it's part of it, and you have to do it once like everybody else, and then now it's all normal.
Tyler, going into your second year in Shane's offense, how much more comfortable do you feel just maybe not having to get up to speed, but maybe sharpen some things because you kind of know already how you'll be utilized?
Yeah, I think that is really important, kind of with getting the same coaches back and having a lot of the same players back, to just kind of we're not installing every day. We're kind of just going back over stuff, and there will be new installs and all that, but I think it's important we have that foundation we already built everything on and just kind of building off of it, like you said.
I know in the spring you talked about wanting to get quicker out of breaks, things like that. So how did you specifically work on that coming into this year's training camp?
Yeah, I think it's being intentional when you say you're not just running routes, you're doing some type of agility drill, but still being intentional about what you're working on. So focusing on getting out of it. I think, just working on explosiveness in general is a way to work on that. So I think doing that stuff was big this offseason.
Again, that is the voice of Tyler Warren, year 2 for the Colts tight end. He's with us here on Report Day at Grand Park. Were you part of the group in Florida here recently with Daniel Jones and company?
Yes, yeah, I was out there.
What was life down there like for you guys?
It was good. It was good to kind of just, still get the work in, but also bond and get a little closer with the guys and enjoy each other's company before you show up for camps. That's always a fun time.
Did you do the tight end youth this offseason?
No, I didn't make it to that.
When you look back on your rookie season and Daniel gets hurt and you see the dip in numbers for you individually, Jonathan individually, just the offense as a whole, Do you look at that as any sort of rookie wall, or do you think rookie wall is a huge misnomer and there's a lot more context around it that led to the dip in numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, especially with a position like tight end, there's a from week to week, it's going to look different based off what you're doing. And obviously, with Daniel going down and really the weeks before that, when his mobility was a little bit less than what he usually have, it changes the offense because he's such a dynamic quarterback that I think people don't realize kind of how much his legs, help him as a football player and a quarterback. But no, I don't look at it as a rookie wall. I just kind of that was the flow of the season, and there were circumstances you couldn't really control. So that's kind of how it played out. But I didn't look at it as that type of thing.
Tyler, along those lines with Daniel, we know that he's been through a lot the last year or so, but he's cleared to practice and play going forward. So for you, how much respect do you have for a guy who just never made excuses? And I guess from our perspective, we look up and he's ready to go again, but he put a lot of work in to get back with you guys.
Yeah, I think that that's not really surprising to any of us and probably y'all now after being here with a year with him. But yeah, that's the type of player he is, and that's the guy you'd want, playing quarterback and being the leader of the offense. So it's awesome to see him and yeah, just making sure he does everything he needs to be comfortable and ready to roll, and we'll be behind him and have his back.
And so, Tyler, I know you're all about ball, but coming back from summer, I would imagine you did other things besides football. So, non-football related, what was your most fun, unique experience you had throughout the break?
I mean, I didn't do any crazy trips or anything. I played as much golf as I could, so that was probably the most fun. Did some fishing, but yeah, just some relaxation outside of the workouts and stuff was always good.
Now, better golf for you or Riley, real quick?
Well, there is the video that they posted where I beat him in the closest to the pin, so I guess.
Now, Tyler, we're all friends here, right?
Right. Oh, you're going to show him the video?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, all of us are friends. But I would love your honest opinion, if you don't mind. Golf analysis, Golf Channel.
Sure.
In your future, maybe one day. Now, I won't say who filmed this video. Maybe someone that's standing close by here. But this is my good friend James Boyd.
Oh boy.
Right here. Okay. Now, this looks familiar to you, right? This is outside of the Colts complex. You guys have this beautiful golf facility. Could you give this analysis on James Boyd's golf swing? Okay. All right. We'll press play right here. The 5-yard false start, maybe.
Relax.
Okay, there's one. Yep. There's two there. Okay, just one more here for good measure. Look, now he's going to hit it at us, but probably isn't going to hit it at us here.
Yeah, not my strong suit.
Any pointers you got there for James?
Just keep working.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Is that the worst thing?
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
I said it looked like Charles Barkley got electrocuted.
That's fair. That's a fair take, but I think everybody's got to start somewhere in golf.
He talks better about me than you do.
It's because he's a polite individual. Unbelievable. Deep down, he's like, if I have to see that and that pops up in my head next time I'm on the driving range, we're going to have some issues here.
See, Tyler, this video wouldn't even gotten out if I didn't post it myself. So I was ready for the criticism and the critiques and the coaching, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's golf usually has a friendly community that no one wants to see you.
Appreciate
it's real. Honestly, it's probably your friends want to see you do the worst more than anybody else.
Exactly.
In golf, so.
Hating on me.
Are you an individual goal guy at all?
I wouldn't say I'm a huge one. I think I have certain things you want to do, but that's not really what I focus on when I'm doing football in general.
So you aren't like throwing up there, hey, I want X amount of numbers, I want this, that. Do you have that in your mind? Is that something that you like to keep yourself? Is that something you don't even think about? How do you kind of view that going into year two?
I wouldn't say I think about it a bunch, and when I do, I usually do keep it to myself because it's, everybody would like to do certain things, but obviously really everybody just wants to win at the end of the day, and I think that's the biggest thing. So I'm not too big on me reaching personal stats or anything like that.
We'll end with this. A Tyler Warren, if you got called up to do karaoke, you would be singing what? What was your rookie song that you sang last year?
I sang 5 o'clock somewhere.
Oh, boy, that's a good one. Did the room like that?
Yeah. Like I started get our room's pretty stoic in there. And I thought I did bad because everyone was like kind of quiet. I got a few claps, and everybody after was like, "Oh, it was really good," and it was just I was expecting some more energy, but that's kind of how it goes here. But I did good according to people on the team.
Well, That's all that matters.
There you go.
Certainly better than James Boyd's golf swing.
Oh, he hating on me.
Tyler, good luck this season. Stay healthy, man, and I appreciate the time here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
That is Tyler Warren, year 2 for the Colts tight end. We appreciate him joining us here live at Grand Park. Josh Downs scheduled to join us here a little bit later. Thanks, Tyler. And again, it is report day for the Colts, 10 a.m. Your start time for training camp practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He's just too nice to offer the proper analysis that's needed on that video.
No, he gave me actual critiques. He encouraged me. He gave me what they call love sandwich, where you get the love on one side, criticism in the middle, love on the other. You just want to give me a pile of you-know-what.
Boy, if we ask that to Josh Downs, you know full well Josh Downs is going to have a different reaction than Tyler Warren.
Well, Josh Downs has got to get off of Tubi, according to Cam Newton. So.
Now, you were over there with DeForest Buckner prior
Yes.
to Tyler
Yes.
Warren. Anything that Mr. Buckner shared?
So he is cleared to practice. He will not be on the physically unable to perform list. That is a significant step forward in development for DeForest Buckner, knowing that he told us actually had surgery on his neck on New Year's Eve, so back in December. And he was pretty candid about, hey, I don't know what was next for me at that time, but he said he's been cleared to kind of ramp up. I would expect him to kind of be on a pitch count early throughout training camp, but he said he's been hitting some things, striking some things, seeing where he's at. And he said he felt like he graduated when he got cleared yesterday for practice. So shout out to DeForest Buckner going into year 11. And you could tell there was some relief there for him to get clearance to just do what he loves.
Boy, I would not have expected that, to be honest with you. I would say that.
I told you he's God's favorite.
I would say that kind of falls into the surprising, good news of it. And I think it's really important for a guy that, again, Buckner obviously has played in the league for a long, long time and knows full well what he's doing. But, he is hitting on this in the spring. I don't know if he touched on it at all when he was over there with you guys. But, this is going to be a little bit of a new DeForest Buckner, really, I think is probably fair to say. So I think it's important for him to get a month plus of work to test those things out.
Absolutely.
And, when full pads get put on, I forget if it gets put on Saturday or Monday for the first time, or the joint practice coming up. I mean, we're 2 weeks away from a joint practice with the New England Patriots, those sorts of things. I think it's really important for Buckner. Most 10-year vets that have been Pro Bowlers, you say, I'll see you September 13th. I think it's good for Buckner to get a month plus of work in, testing some of these things out to see exactly where he's at, how much workload he can handle when it gets real on September 13th.
I know you'll go back and listen to all of it, Kevin, but he did allude to that as well. Okay, I'm clear, but how do I feel physically? Who am I when I start striking things? And honestly, Kevin, he probably still won't know, similar to a lot of guys coming back from injury, where he's at until he's actually in a game setting. Now, we'll get to sort of, okay, will he play in the preseason? Will he try to test things out in that setting where you're going against another person and it's live? But I still think it's good news and a very significant step forward for DeForest Buckner to have had neck surgery about 7 months ago at this point, be cleared to go from day one for training camp.
Christian, let's go ahead and check it down here. Again, Josh Downs scheduled to join us a little bit later here in the show. But let's go ahead and check it down on this Tuesday morning.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, so if we're sifting through our injury questions for the start of camp here, I would say good news would fall into the Daniel Jones category. Sounds like he will be full go when things get underway tomorrow, 10 a.m. start time. I would put DeForest Buckner in the surprisingly good category. We'll see how full go he is, of course, but I would say that a little bit better. And then, James, the other two, the Alec Pierce and the C.J. Allen updates for those that missed it yesterday.
Yes, so Alec Pierce will start the training camp on the physically unable to perform list. That was not necessarily a surprise because he had left ankle surgery back in March and told us that it would be about a 4 to 6 month recovery timeline. We're at about 4 months right now, so we'll kind of wait and see and hear from him or Chris Ballard later today or this week to figure out where exactly he is in his recovery, how long he could possibly be sidelined. And then as far as C.J. Allen goes, he popped up on the PUP list because of a calf injury he recently suffered in a workout. It sounds like it's going to be a short-term injury, but as you pointed out this morning, Kevin, those reps are very vital for someone who's supposed to be a projected starter as a rookie.
So again, Chris Bauer going to meet the media coming up here in a little over 90 minutes. That is 11 o'clock, and we are scheduled to have Josh Downs join us live here. Training camp scheduled the rest of the week. 10 a.m. start time to practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 4 o'clock, and then a Sunday off day, morning practices Monday and Tuesday next week, and a night practice, legit night practice, 8 o'clock coming up on Thursday. It'll be a late one. Speaking of night practices, it'll be a late one for the Indiana Fever tonight. 9:30 their tip time with the Seattle Storm. They are a big favorite over the worst team in the league, but James, about 10 days ago, this was a rather competitive game.
Yes, it was one of the greatest games I've ever seen for any level of basketball, men's, women's, girls, boys. Caitlin Clark put on a show with a 45-point, 10-assist effort over the Seattle Storm. I don't want to say she's going to repeat that tonight because it's only been done once in history, but we know she's capable and we know she's healthy. So this Fever team quietly has won 5 of their last 6. Kevin, they're rolling right now. They're a game back of 4th place in the standings. And, of course, if you get in that top 4, you get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. So this is where it gets into the nitty-gritty, and we're starting to see, some of that playoff positioning come into focus.
Again, it's at Seattle tonight, at Portland on Friday, at Minnesota, the best team in the league, on Sunday. Major League Baseball from this week, or I should say from Monday. Don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Mother Nature impacted things a whole lot yesterday. The Reds postponed. They were hosting the Guardians. Cubs delayed early, but then they were all over the Cardinals 9-3. What else? Guardians. Oh, no, they were postponed with the Reds, of course. Brewers losing to the Giants 3-0. White Sox losing to the Yankees 9-5. Indianapolis Indians down in Louisville this week. Back at home against Iowa starting next week. It is Big Ten Media Days for college football, and I say that plurally because there's 18 teams now in the conference. So they divide this up across each of the next 3 days. You will have Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti meeting the media coming up later today in Chicago. I believe Barry Odom and Purdue scheduled for tomorrow, and then Kurt Signetti and the Hoosiers scheduled for Thursday as we are getting closer to the start of the college football season here. IU will open up with North Texas September 5th. I'm pretty sure Taven Jackson, Trace Jackson Davis, of course, his brother. I want to say he's the starter at, is it North Texas?
I'm looking it up right now. He is at North Texas.
Yeah, so I think he will see his former team there to open up the season. So kind of a unique storyline you get there to start things off. What else? IU wrapped up things in Peru from a basketball standpoint. They throttled all of those teams on their foreign tour. Beat the Virgin Islands by 42 last night in the gold medal game. Aiden Sherrill, the transfer out of Alabama, very talented big dude. Watched him a little bit in the tournament. He's got some real skill to him, and he was the MVP of said tournament. All right, Christian, let's get a little weather update. Again, Josh Downs still scheduled to join us. It is report day here at Grand Park. If you missed the Tyler Warren interview, that will be up on the podcast. And again, Josh Downs scheduled to join us here as we round things out. Fan Morning Show on a Tuesday here live in Westfield.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Well, thank you to Tyler Warren. He joined us on site. That'll be up on the podcast. Josh Downs scheduled to join us here as we wrap things up the final half hour of the show. It's report day at Grand Park. You know, James, usually these training camp report days, there's a little element of like you're just trying to avoid some of the injury news. You know, when you have like C.J. Allen yesterday, for example, again, doesn't expect to be long term, but still any missed time for the quarterback of your defense, especially a rookie, I think is notable. But the Colts, it looks like they've gotten some good news on DeForest Buckner, I would say. Or at least fall into the surprisingly category, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I think that it is very great news for DeForest Buckner, especially considering what he's meant to this defense since he was traded here in 2020. So to give you a brief recap, we did hear from DeForest Buckner here at camp, and he told us that he was cleared yesterday, Kevin, to practice with the team. He won't go straight into playing every single rep, but it sounds like there's going to be a ramp-up period. But nevertheless, I think it's a good thing that after not practicing in the spring, contemplating his football future at one point, thinking about retirement months ago, now he's back for an 11th season, and we'll see how he gets acclimated eventually to kind of this new normal that he has. You know, can you still be the dominant DeForest Buckner? Can you still be sort of safe with your neck when you're in the trenches? Those are all questions that we'll have to get answers to later on. But the big question today was whether or not he'd be on that PUP list, physically unable to perform, and is able to perform, which is a very positive thing for these Colts.
Yeah, I would say really good news. And, you know, I brought this name up earlier, and you know, he's probably a name that, I don't know, 10, 20% of Colts fans know, and certainly if they know the name, they probably don't know a ton about his background. But, you know, when the Colts traded Zaire Franklin away to Green Bay back in the spring, in return for that pick, they got a player by the name of Colby Wooden. I think a fourth-round pick a few years back. Actually started 16 games for Green Bay last year. Offers some versatility. Not a big sack guy, but I think when the Colts had their defensive line group, or their starting unit, I should say, in the spring, it was Wooden out there in place of Buckner virtually every time. So, you know, he would be a name to watch. Adetomiwa Adebawore, another former fourth-round pick who has shown some flashes here, probably as a pass rusher from the interior. Those would be guys that, you know, again, a couple names to keep an eye on if they want to lessen the Buckner workload. But, you know, something I've stressed throughout the offseason, James, is a concern that I have given Buckner's neck status, and again, we'll see where he's at. Do teams not feel the need to have to double-team him anymore? Because if that's the case, then does that slide over to Latu, and how does that impact Latu? Now, if you're going to say it's a healthy Buckner, then I think this D-line could be a little bit more than maybe, you know, we think it can be, given, you know, Buckner's uncertainty here with the neck. So still ways to go for him to kind of prove that, but I would say that news item definitely falls in the good one here on Report Day.
Definitely. And so the sun is shining, and I always joke that DeForest Buckner is God's favorite, so the sun is shining on him as he gets ready for training camp number 11 of his career.
If I gave you 15 guesses, could you name the 6 NFL players that got a 99 rating on Madden?
6 guesses, 99 rating?
15 guesses for 6 players.
I probably couldn't, but I could try.
Let's go here. 2 quarterbacks.
2 quarterbacks got 99s?
2 quarterbacks.
Josh Allen probably is one of them.
Boom.
Yeah, that makes sense, even though I disagree.
Ooh.
Who's the other one? It can't be Patrick Mahomes.
It is not Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no. Lamar Jackson? Nah, he was injury-riddled last year. That can't be him. No. It better not be Joe Burrow.
Let's move on from quarterback.
I was about to say.
2 wideouts.
Wideouts? Jamar Chase has to be one of them.
Jamar Chase, ding.
Justin Jefferson?
No.
Other top receiver. I got Brooks back here from Wish TV.
You're struggling getting to the Pacific time zone with some of these.
Yeah, I am. I'm blanking.
The best division of football. NFC West, right?
Oh, yeah, Jackson, my bad.
Jackson Smith and
JSN.
Jigba, and then when I
I forgot about the Offensive Player of the Year. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I need to knock the rust off.
then when I say that, does that spark up anything quarterback-wise for you?
Yeah, probably Matthew Stafford.
Okay, boom. There's 4.
MVP.
2 left. 1 very obvious. 1 I think harder.
Myles Garrett,
And
he's got to be 99.
our final
Harder?
name. I think this is the hardest one.
It
to
might
get.
be like an offensive lineman or something.
Not an offensive lineman. Actually,
Okay.
the same position of the man we had on in the 9 o'clock hour.
Oh, McBride.
Trey McBride.
He's a 99.
99.
I knew he was
Josh
good.
Allen, Matthew Stafford, Jamar
Look at Eddie
Chase,
Garrison texting me wrong answers. Puka is not one of them.
Jackson Smith-Ajigba, Trey McBride.
Look at Brooks. Brooks, don't
and
nod your head
Myles
and like you're
Garrett.
proud of me. I was struggling, brother. I appreciate the help.
Jonathan Taylor, a 96. Quentin Nelson, a 94. Buckner, 91. Sauce Gardner, 90. Those are your Colts
I think
players
Sauce might have a little
over 90.
something to say about that. And he better.
Yeah, he can't be 90 this year. No. He needs to be north of 95. Yeah, that's a huge part of this Colts season whatsoever. Christian, let's actually take a little bit of an earlier break than we normally would because I think Josh Downs is going to join us at some point here in the final segment. I want to make sure we leave a good chunk of time here for whenever Josh Downs does show up. We are live here in Westfield. It is Colts report day to training camp. Josh Downs scheduled to join us as we close things out here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Well, you talk about great timing. Sitting down with us right now as we close things out here on Report Day. He's heading into his 4th NFL season. I'm still not used to you wearing number 2.
Yeah, definitely different.
Yeah, it is different. Josh Downs, I was going to say, part of me was like number 1, but no, he is number 2. Josh Downs joins us. How's the offseason?
It was good, man. Good time off. A lot of traveling, a lot of working out. So it was cool to get a little refresh and have this last month off.
How was Florida with the crew?
It was cool. I mean, we stayed at a great resort. Thankful to Danny. He put us up in some like 5-star, resort. It was kind of crazy, but good bonding, good work. And then the overall vibes were great.
I was going to ask, who's picking that up? I mean, maybe AP after all the money that he's got now, right?
AP going to get one soon, but, Danny the QB, so QBs, they like to take that role.
Okay. Josh, for you, going into year 4, I don't want to call you Unc just yet,
Yeah,
but
facts.
you getting up there. How different does this feel for you? And going into a contract year, how much of that is on your mind?
Yeah, just like, more experience going into year 4. Excited to, see what how the cards may fall with the role and players not being here anymore. Contract year, not really like, obviously you got to do the same things you always do when you work out because, you don't want to do something out of the ordinary just to kind of, this is a big year, so I'm going to run 3 extra miles a day, like something like that. So you don't want to do that, but obviously, it's there in the back of my head, but it's not something I'm like super duper worried about. I feel like just my whole life, God has took care of me. So, I feel like a lot of things have lined up the right way this year. So I'm hoping to have a big year.
From an opportunity standpoint, talk about having a big year. How much more do you think is there for you, considering that Pittman's not here anymore, A.D. Mitchell isn't here anymore? Those talented guys that I'm sure you had a lot of respect for. But on paper, it looks like you have or should have more targets and opportunities.
Yeah, man. Coach put me in the right position. All you can do is make the play for him. So I'm excited for that. Trust me. I feel like I'm a really, really good receiver, and I feel like I have a lot more ability to show it this year possibly. So I'm excited for that. And, we got other guys going to get big opportunities, Tyler and AP as well. So, and we got, Ashton's going to get a huge role step up as well probably. So, excited for that, and it's going to be a different year because Pittman's not here. He was great for us, man. He was here for like 6-7 years. But yeah, we're gonna miss Pitt, but obviously we got to pick up where he left off.
What will you miss the most about not having Pitt here?
Nah, Pitt's just besides him just being a guy that really tough, set the tone kind of dude, and just being a great player is also just his off the field kind of guy. He's a really funny dude. Like obviously people probably know that, but he's a guy in meetings when it's 7 a.m. in the morning, like everybody's sleepy, like he gonna yell some crazy, something funny, like just to get the room to spark up, and he just does a lot of stuff that kind of just energizes the room, and it gets everybody going.
Again, that's the voice of Josh Downs. He's with us here. Report day for the Colts in training camp year 4. Do you care if you get a contract extension before the start of the year?
Nah, well, I don't know. Whatever happens is gonna happen, but I'm not like, oh, I need that. Nah, because I'd rather boost my own stock throughout the season. I feel like I can do a lot more, and I want that to show, and then see where that goes.
So, Josh, I do have to ask, do you know what November 8th is?
Yeah. I just assume that you're talking about me playing my brother or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, how much have you all talked about that? And honestly, as an older brother, what advice have you given him stepping into the NFL? I know he's on the other side of the ball, but you've been here for a little while.
Nah, the advice part, he'll ask me little things about the off season, like when do you start working out, when do you stop working out, how do you manage this, manage that. He'll ask me stuff like that, and I'll give him little nuggets. Telling him the speed of the game might change a little bit, but not too much. If you're a good player, you're going to adjust, not too slowly, and then telling him how the players just get better at this level. That's all it is. But we didn't, we know that game circled, but we weren't talking too much trash on it. But last week we had this one of our good homies wanted to do this day in the life of us, and he asked us that question, and we was going at it for 10 minutes, going back and forth. He was like, "No, don't come across that middle." I was like, "Trust me, I ain't worried about that." I'm like, I didn't play it against safeties that been in the league longer than that. I'm like, not worried about it. He's like, if you don't see me, I'm gonna hit you. I'm like, trust me, you told me you're going to be lined up at nickel, so maybe you're going to be at safety, but even if you are, I'm not worried about it. I was like, hey, you can't guard me. So, we going back and forth during that, but it was fun.
Oh, go ahead.
Again, that's Josh Downs. He's with us here live in Westfield. I was thinking about this on the drive in because Matt Conti was telling us, I think Josh is going to join you. The best catch of your NFL career in your mind is what?
The best catch in my career is probably the catch against my second year against the Texans. AR threw me it. AR threw me it.
Was it here?
No, it was in Tennessee. It was in
down there.
Yeah,
because I was thinking of the Germany one.
Oh yeah.
Gardner third down.
That I like that one, but I like the one against the Texans. Like Petrie was like kind of like underneath me, and he AR threw it like it was like I think it was fourth down. AR threw it, and like I literally caught it like way in the back. But yeah, that was probably my favorite catch. Or last year against the Texans, Danny threw me one on the sideline, and it was like I like toe tapped it.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know where I was on the field. But I was like, oh snap! I'm like. Reggie taught me that, so you know.
Have you lined up? I'm trying to think. At North Carolina, I just remember you torching. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and you were torching them in that game. Did you do a lot of outside like lining up? Because Shane has talked 12 personnel.
Yeah.
He thinks you can do some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I did some of it. You know, my whole life just been a guy that moves around. You know, I play both sides, even line up in the backfield. So I'm not too worried about lining up outside and getting some one-on-one reps. Feel like my speed, quickness, and explosiveness can compete with anybody, so I'm not really too worried about that. And then when it comes to the route tree, I feel like I can run. I know I can run every route. Not feel like I know I can run every route. So I'm excited to see what goes down, and Shane, it's up to Shane and Jim Bob and them, and but I'm gonna do my part to make the plays that come my way.
Again, that's the voice of Josh Downs, fourth-year receiver for the Colts. Josh, when you look at this offense, how much do you appreciate what Daniel Jones brings to it and the work that he's put in to make sure that he's ready to go at the start of training camp, just considering that he's only about 7.5 months removed from having a torn Achilles?
Yeah, no, Danny, the fact that he was even doing some spring was kind of like I actually didn't expect him to do any, but the fact that he was doing that kind of showed me like this dude is dedicated, even though I already knew he was dedicated. And then like when we went down there in Florida, how he was throwing, he had a lot of zip on the ball. I really honestly forgot he was injured the way he looked down there in Florida. I forgot that even happened because he looked so good. But, Danny's the type of guy he's not the guy you got to check in on to do rehab. He's the guy that you probably got to tell to slow down a little bit because he wants to go so fast. But on top of that, just also keeping the guys together, asking when we going hey, you going to be in town this week? I'm trying to throw. I'm trying to do this, do that, get better. And I know he spends a lot of time in the facility watching tape with the coaches. So you can, that's what you want out of a quarterback.
Best thing you did this offseason?
Best thing I did this offseason, I went to Wimbledon and saw Novak Djokovic play.
That's lit.
Now, high-level tennis like that up close has got to be wild.
Nah, man, it was different. I didn't really realize how long those games be. I think he played this dude named Rinderknecht, and they played for like 4 hours. And it was like not even the quarterfinals. It was like the round of 32. And the fact that he played that long in a game like that was kind of crazy because I'm just like, you got to take one day off and go do it again. And then he had another game that was 5 hours, like 2 days later. Yeah. So it was like, man.
He said it kind of caught up to him in the final. I remember saying that.
Yeah.
I remember him saying that.
He's about 39 now, 38. Dude, he's playing center. Center's younger. But he had a bunch of hard, like, long games throughout that tournament. I'm like I know the game before he played center was 5 hours. So I was like, dude, that's hard to recover from that.
You got some tennis game?
I got some pickleball game. I'm not on the tennis court yet. That's a little.
I feel like you too young to be playing pickleball. I feel like cheating. You're a world
class
athlete,
Josh. You gotta play against people that are as athletic as you, because then you can really get to it.
Like, come on now, that's like suburban.
Yeah. Nah, it is.
That's where you're tired of the nursing home in Florida. Is what you're saying there.
Nah, that's something else. Me and my brother competed. We played pickleball.
That's for Gary Downs, not for Josh Downs.
Right.
To be doing it.
Man, he can't. You're right, but that's another thing to compete with my brother. Like we went on with our family a couple of days ago, and like it was like six of us, and we were playing 2-on-2s, and then we were like, hey, y'all go play over there, and it was just me and Caleb on the court playing 1-on-1 for like an hour 30 minutes, like drenched in sweat, like everybody we loud, we yelling at each other, like it was too funny.
Who's the best pickleball player on the team?
I don't know who plays pickleball. If I had to guess, like I'd assume that AP would be pretty good. Let me see. Maybe Cam Bynum could be. Cam Bynum seems like he does a lot of different stuff, so maybe he'd be good. I assume Riley Daniel would be good. Tyler probably be good. Those would be my guesses. Ashton probably could be good too. So
sounds like we got some team bonding coming up. Maybe if you get some downtime throughout training camp, which will be rigorous.
Get the pickleball bracket going.
I know, exactly. I got one last one for you, Josh. It is not a very serious question, but I was actually laughing out loud when I heard Cam Newton describe Netflix opportunity for your brother.
Yeah.
Tubi for you. Do you have a Tubi subscription?
Nah, I don't. Tubi's free, right?
Tubi's free.
Nah.
Have the app downloaded?
No, I actually don't. But like Cam said that, like I saw jokes and stuff. But like I feel like that's a shot at us in a way. So I feel like at that point I'm like, all right, like yeah, it's funny, but like no, it's not funny. Maybe to other people. So I'm just like, all right, we'll see about that this year. So it's a little. I feel like everybody on the team could look at that and be like, okay, like I see, bet. So.
I got one last one. Appreciate the time. A lot of this talk happened, I think, because you strike me as a great athlete, like the World Cup and, playing on grass, playing on turf. Those are a big topic. Do you have an opinion on that? Do you feel it when you play on turf versus when you play on grass? 'Cause it seems to be, with the World Cup just happening, it was a pretty big topic.
Yeah, I would rather play on grass. Like definitely, and it feels better. Like just like even from practicing outside and practicing in the indoor, it's just like two different things. But a lot of teams are the same way. You practice outside, feels much better, and then when they say, "Oh, it's raining, we got to go inside," everybody's like, "Man, I'm not trying to do all that." But definitely, grass makes you. I feel like grass there's more longevity with it, and they did it for them. Obviously, they're playing on a different kind of grass than us. So like we do when we go over to Europe, they're playing on that grass, I assume. So, but yeah, I would love to play on grass. I know it probably costs more, but. If they want to give us an extra game to get some grass in them stadiums, then I guess we can compromise a little bit.
The CBA negotiations at Josh Downs alive and well. He'll be on the grass tomorrow at 10 a.m. Josh, stay healthy, man. Good luck this season, and as always, appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Josh Downs right there as we are wrapping things up here at Grand Park in Westfield. Again, if you missed it earlier, we'll have the Tyler Warren interview up on the pod, and we'll have the Josh Downs one on the pod as well. For those that might have missed the Cam Newton clip, because honestly, I think Josh gave the response that you would want to hear. Yeah. Could you expand a little bit more on that?
So I thought it was a hilarious clip. Downs to business.
Hilarious because he's not talking about you.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you thought it was hilarious when you were showing Tyler Warren my golf swing, so it's always funny when you're laughing at somebody else's expense.
Touche.
But for those listening, Cam Newton was a guest on the Downs to Business podcast between the Downs brothers, Caleb and Josh, and he compared Caleb going to Dallas to being part of a Netflix special and Josh being a part of a Tubi special because the Colts don't really have that many primetime games. Now, in the clip, I thought it was hilarious, and Josh kind of laughed it off, but I think you got more of the real response there, Kevin, which was kind of what I was getting at. I think Josh is a funny dude as we listen to him right there. But he's also a fiercely competitive guy who kind of internalizes some of those perceived shots. And so he said, yeah, that might be looked at as kind of funny to you all, but, I'm not really laughing because the reason we don't have these primetime games is probably because we haven't produced enough in recent years. So how do you get people to watch you, Kevin? You win.
1,000%. And I think you heard a little bit of the competitiveness in Josh Downs, too, when he was answering the contract question. And you and I got in this debate a little bit earlier in the show. I think oftentimes we just sit there with the athlete and we think, oh, yeah, you sign the extension. But is there any part of you that says, no, I'm going to bet on myself? I don't want to be the value shopper that you're going to try to get me at. And I think you heard a little bit of that out of him there.
He touched on it a little bit, and I think that's probably as much as you're going to get.
Right.
But he more or less said, hey, let me go out there. I think the word he used was boost. Boost my stock.
Right.
And make you have to pay come next year.
And again, some pretty high praise there for Daniel Jones. They got together in Florida for those that missed it here recently. And, we see these from all quarterbacks around the league. You kind of host your skill guys in a mini camp type setting, and you get some work on the field, some team bonding, you play a little golf, you have some dinners together. And he obviously was pretty impressed by Daniel Jones throwing the football and mentioned with us that if he didn't know any better, he wouldn't have thought that Daniel was injured at all. So good velocity, good zip, because I know that was something Daniel was curious about. When you are pushing off, do you have the same sort of velocity as you are, trying to come back from this torn Achilles here in less than a year? Always enjoy chatting with Josh Downs. I think he's one of the more personable, easygoing, candid dudes inside of that locker room.
Absolutely. He's one of the guys, Kevin, when we get to Friday during the season and it's pretty lighthearted. You're not really asking too many crazy questions. That's one of the dudes I usually go up to and, hey, what's your take on some of the big games this weekend for college football? Or hey, have you heard the new album from G Herbo or Lil Wayne or whoever the case may be? And so he usually has some takes for me, and I just appreciate the time.
So, again, Josh Downs and Tyler Warren, that will be up on the podcast, James. For those that missed it, I would say right now, and again, we're going to hear from Chris Ballard in an hour, 11 o'clock today. He will chat with the media, so potentially some other news items to come out of that. But I would say the biggest news item today falls in the good category, and that would be DeForest Buckner's latest.
Yes, great news. He has been cleared to practice. He did not practice all throughout the spring and really hadn't done much team-wise since having neck surgery way back in December. So he told us back then he contemplated retirement. He's back for an 11th season now. He'll have a ramp-up period, so he won't just dive fully into, all of the reps and all systems go. But nevertheless, Kevin, a very great development for the Colts, who had a bit of a, downturn when it came to some of the injury news yesterday with C.J. Allen and Alec Pierce being on the physically unable to perform list.
So, again, just update everybody on how the rest of the week will look. We'll be out here each and every morning. So if you're coming out to Colts camp, 9 a.m. gates open starting tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Come out, say, hey, we're on the northwest part of the practice fields here at Grand Park. There's two of them adjacent to each other, and the Colts will start their practices. What are we, James? Are we 10 to 11 pretty much every day? Maybe 11:15 one of the days?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, so an hour, a little over an hour. And there is a kind of an early ramp-up period before you put the full pads on, coming up a little bit later into camp. I've received this question quite a few times today. Again, this is the last one at Grand Park. I assume, I guess we haven't had confirmation, but I assume that means training camp will just go back to the facility over on West 56th Street, and then they would sprinkle in some practices off-site. Again, we don't know details on exactly how that'll look, whether it's exclusively at Lucas Oil. Do they involve some high school stadiums around the area? Do they involve the Butler Bowl, UIndy? Who knows how all of that will look, and who knows if they'll have fans at their own complex. Parking limitations are a lot.
I just hope
we're going to try and host
that the common fan is accounted for and thought of in those decisions, Kevin.
Yeah. Amen to that. Christian Oates, thank you. Back there in studio, Mark Dykton will be with us tomorrow. Thank you to Cam Blankenship. He's going to be on site with us all week long. The podcast will include Tyler Warren and Josh Downs. Summer is over. Colts camp is here. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning live here in Westfield.